feeling cold against your skin. Running through the chaos, letting all the sin. Temptation in a bottle, ready for the night. Craving for the thrill, it's time to ignite. Dark desires burning bright. Echoes in the dead of night. No retreat, no looking back on this heart attack.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how are you going? Good to be back on this Friday night. Yeah, Friday for you guys, sort of not Friday for us. It is it's Saturday afternoon down here right now. Um, but I want to go through some of the science behind this Kristen Smart discovery in a way. It's not a full-blown discovery, but I'll explain it. I'll explain it. It is good news, though. It is very good news. And hopefully, if they continue, they will get what they are looking for, which I would say they're in for a shot, considering all the evidence that they've collected over the last, I think it's like 5 or 6 years trying to get to this point. It sounds like they have a fair idea of what they're looking for. It sounds like they do. They have a pretty good idea of what they're looking for. Hey, it is good to see you on this Friday night. Always happy when we can get some sort of new information on a case that probably should have been solved years ago. This one should have been solved a long time ago. Really, it should have been. This should not have been dragging on, till 2026. I think we all know Paul Flores is responsible. His father found, not guilty in a court of law, but I think cops and everyone else believe that he had more to do with it than he's legally responsible for, at least at this point. I think they believe he helped his son move her body. What's creepy about this one is if you if you believe the evidence of the authorities that she was originally under that decking and then she was later moved, you got to think, right? We're dating back almost 20 years. Yeah, 20 years, maybe longer. And you're going to dig up a body, your deepest, darkest secret, something horrible that you have done, and you're going to move it because it is getting too hot. That's basically what happened. They could feel the heat from the authorities. They could feel them closing in, sniffing around. They were sort of like, getting a little too close to where Kristen might be, and then the body got moved. I I don't know what type of human being it takes to do that. To one, kill someone, bury a body, but then later on have to dig up those human remains and move them. I think it's so hard to sort of connect to that sort of action. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could go into my backyard and dig up a body and then move it. It is really horrific. We see it a lot in true crime, and I think sometimes we disassociate from what the actual act is. And the actual act here would be so gruesome. When you start hearing some of these details that I'm going to tell you, you'll understand why. Some of this testing, this soil testing, is very interesting technology, and it's been used in some other cases, including one in Washington, where there were a couple. They were involved with organized crime, and they were helping to bring in drugs. They eventually wanted to get out of it. They wanted to not be involved anymore. They told the other co-conspirators that they wanted to be done. They wanted to go live their life, and they killed them. They killed, I think, the husband, then they killed the wife, and they buried them on this ranch. they didn't use this same technology to find them as such, but the authorities sort of knew where they were buried in like a very large location. But they used this technology to sort of narrow down the area. Then, when they found the two people, they allowed the company to come back and then retest. And the reason they wanted them to do that is they're trying to hone this technology. It's fairly new, and it's been used in a couple of different cases, but they're constantly trying to narrow down the scope. And what is that scope? There are certain compounds where a body decomposes, and these chemicals get let off in the decomposition process. They are only found with humans. Certain ones are only found with humans, which is it's interesting because I know for a fact that they used to train cadaver dogs not always on human remains. They used to train them on pigs. So they would use pigs buried in random locations, and they would use the pigs to train cadaver dogs. But from my reading of this technology, cadaver dogs, when they train on pigs, are looking for a compound that's very similar to humans, but it's not the same. This technology has to look for a very specific profile of chemicals where it is related to a human, and it can't be anything else. Because if you start veering off into other, it could be this, it could be a pig, it could be that, you start disqualifying your results of it. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to narrow this down so this technology is more accurate. And it's already pretty accurate, but they're just really trying to narrow it down so they can put a few probes in, bang, get a hit, send the test to the lab, get it done, get it back really fast. At the moment, it can take a little while. I hear this one, they're trying to rush through, even though I heard today in the press conference, they're pretty sure. They've already done some testing on this side that you can see right here. Um, so they're pretty sure that's either she's there or she was there. But I think they want to believe that this is where she was moved to. We'll find out. But yeah, it's great, cool technology. What you got on your screen right now. This is from a previous testing session that they did on the other side of the fence is this the one we're on? No, we're on the other one. Okay, hold on. There's two. So we got two different. Yeah, we're on the other. So this one, 2021, it is testing on a neighbor's property. And if I scroll down, so this is like that chemical sort of bloom that they're looking for. And they tested it on the other side of the fence from the mother's property. And you can see here, these are the plot points here. All these little things. This is most likely where the probes were, is what I'm guessing. And they're taking readings in that soil. And you see it's so heavy near the fence. Near that fence line is where that darkest coloration is, and then it blooms out from there. You get like really strong readings coming directly out from there, and it fades as it sort of gets out here. So what do? You obviously follow the strongest readings down to here. This one was in 2021. Yeah, and we've got another example a couple of years later in 2023. So these are like these volatile compounds that they're looking for. And it's very similar. It's very similar, except I think the one in 2021 showed a slightly higher reading. I can't zoom in any more than that on that one, unfortunately. Yeah, that's as far as I can go. But yeah, I think the first one in 2021 showed a higher reading, which is interesting. I don't know why exactly that changed. Maybe it was fresher at the time. But what's interesting, they were talking about the Washington case, and one of the reasons they went out and retested with this technology, soil intrusion detection, uh, when they went out and retested in Washington after the bodies had been removed, this bloom area that's really visible when you have like actual human remains, it had shrunk. Oh, you guys are on the wrong photo. Good work, Ping. There you go. Sorry. Let's go let's go back. Jeez, Ping. Yeah, 2021. There we go. What is going on with our there you go. There's the bloom. So when they went out back to Washington and they tested this bloom where they had when the body was there, they got a very similar reading to this. Like you see, it's like a lot of detection. It's quite high. You can tell possibly where the target is. When they took the bodies out and they came back and retested, that bloom had shrunk. And that sounds about right, right? If you take out the source material, of course it's going to shrink. But they could still find these chemicals up to 18 inches away from where the human remains had been buried. And I thought that was really interesting. They're not quite sure how long after a body I mean, they did the Kristen one at the other property, the father's property, and they still found it after they believe she was moved. But they're still working on how long can it stay in the ground? How far can it travel? How long does it take to travel in something like this? So this might be like, I don't know in American things, but maybe like 3 or 4 meters from that fence. How long does that take? These are like some of the quantifiers that they're trying to figure out with this soil intrusion technology, which is it's really cool. I wonder if this will end up being something that will not replace cadaver dogs as such, but it might make it better than saying, oh, it's too much money to go and dig up a concrete slab to try and find human remains. So what we'll do is we'll use this technology first to see if we can find evidence of there being a body. Then we can go get the money, the search warrant, the legalities sorted out to go back and say, look what we found. We can now go back and dig this up because sort of before they use the ground penetrating radar, it's not super accurate. You can sort of tell if there's a void there, but sometimes it's a gas pipe and sometimes it's an old thing from someone buried something. It doesn't always work 100%. So you're trying to find this technology where you can corroborate your results. So you may use this, a cadaver dog, and ground penetrating radar. Then you get more of a rounded picture of what's going on. You can actually go in there and say, look what we have. We have 3 different things that are all pointing at each other, saying they're all basically confirming each other. That is a better type of science when you can use these type of technologies to basically confirm each other. You're going to get better results. And in the case of Kristen Smart, I hope it's her. I really do. This particular story it needs that finality for the family. They need to bring her home, and it's been far too long. The fact that they felt they were so close a number of years ago, they really thought she was there. And when they did this testing and they found out she was there at some point, they believe so anyway. That must have been heartbreaking for investigators to get like within days, weeks, months of it, and then not actually get it. What is going on with our photos tonight? There we go. What is going on with our photos? They have a mind of their own tonight. There we go. You guys can see the blooming. This one's from, what did we say it was? This is the earliest one. So this is 2021. And you can see like that bloom from that fence line is really strong. Very, very strong. This is the one from 2023. I'll put it back on the screen. I wish we could get closer on this image, but we can't for some reason. There's one from 2023. It's not quite as strong, and that bloom has sort of shrunk a little bit, but it almost looks like the it's not as spread out. It's a little more constricted, but you're still getting pretty high readings. It's just not that real deep red that it was a few years earlier. What that means, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that just means some of the chemicals, some of the compounds have sort of you know, dispersed and left the area. I'm not sure, but it's still a pretty strong signal, I would think. I would think that if you're looking at this, you would be looking at somewhere on this fence line. 529. I want to have a look at the overview of this property because it's a strange place, right? If you were going to bury a body, is that where you would do it? I feel like if you put a body here, aren't you asking to get caught because of basically something like this, where it's so accessible from your neighbor? And if you put it right up on the fence line or somewhere, it might be just over the other side of the fence. But if you're just right up here somewhere, aren't you asking for trouble? Aren't you basically what happens? So what happens if your neighbor comes to you one day and says, "Oh, hey, we had a line burst and we need to put in a new sewage system and we need to dig up the fence and everything surrounding it so we can put in a new pipe." Like you are screwed. What are you gonna say? Hey, can you hold off on that for like 2 weeks while I dig up a body and move it? I feel like you're basically trapping yourself, which is good. We want the murderers to trap themselves, but that's what it feels like. It feels like you're asking for trouble, uh, like a lot. You really are. Hey guys, good to see you. Sorry, we've been talking for a little while. Hey, Woman of Steel, good to see you guys. Gail is here, SP Mama. If you're not in the chat tonight, why are you not? Why are you not? Come and hang out with us in the chat. My cat's here too. Hey, cat. See, my little cat, he's here. Hey, hey, Muffin. Come hang out with me and my orange cat and talk true crime with us tonight on this Friday night, Saturday afternoon if you're in the Ice Kingdom of Melbourne, Victoria. The Ice Kingdom. The duck nuts are cold. Hey, Jules, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you, my friend. Hey, Juicy Jules. Hey, yep. Hey, Juicy Jules, good to see you. Yeah, it is really interesting. Really interesting technology. Marilyn said, notice the new thumbnail design. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like it. We've been working on a gradual progression to a new theming for the entire channel. Um, sure. I believe you. I believe you. So yeah, let me read to you a little bit about how this technology works because I'm fascinated by any type of new technology that can come about that can catch murderers more quickly. So we've had the advancements in genetic genealogy, but actually finding bodies has been sort of a slow. It's been a very slow progression in the technology. There really hasn't been a ton. We're still using things like cadaver dogs as primary sources. And, when ground penetrating radar came around, a number of decades ago, we started using that. That has become smaller and smaller. Now you can plug it in and it looks like a little lawnmower almost. It used to be a lot bigger. They used to have these giant machines they used to have to bring out, connect them to a truck, and it was a whole thing. Now you can just sort of plug it into an extension cable and run it over the area and get a readout on a monitor. It's got a lot better, the technology, but we're still sort of using those same things. We're still using cadaver dogs and GPR to have something that you can actually go now. Okay, we have our GPR result. w- Do we want to dig up this entire backyard and not get anything? Because that's always the question with authorities. There's always a problem when you're sort of sure, and then you have to go tell up the chain, hey, we're going to spend this much money and we're going to destroy a backyard. We're going to absolutely obliterate it. And they're like, okay, what proof do you have? And you go, well, we have some ground penetrating radar, and there's something there. There's an abnormality. Sometimes they don't get the okay because it's a lot of money to bring out the teams and the excavators and all that type of thing. And it's they have budgets in these departments and they can't just dig up everything they want to whenever they want to. They got to have some real solid proof. And if this soil intrusion detection can do that for them, provide that more, uh, yeah, like coefficient of other data, then yeah, I think it's great. I think if we can get this more widely used, if these guys can sort of scale up their sort of business. I think at the moment there's only like three guys that are 3 or 4 guys that are sort of working on it. One of them came from Cal Poly, which is the same university, and I think that's a sort of, in a macabre kind of way, it's sort of a lovely thing where someone who got their education at that college is using their education to try and find her. And I think that's such a lovely thing in one way, but it's so dark, you're trying to find a body. But yeah, it's such a nice thing that this guy is trying to help. And I love this. I love it. Really hope it is her, because it needs to be over. It's sort of, I know people that live there. I know quite a few people who live there, and I don't wanna name them, but I know quite a few people who live in this area, and they all say the same thing: "Gotta find her. Gotta bring her home. Give her a proper burial." And, we sort of already know what happened to her, but we don't know where she is, so hopefully this is the final piece. We'll get that announcement shortly, and they will go get their, so from what I understand, they have to go get another search warrant. They have a search warrant to do this type of testing. I think they have to go get another search warrant to actually dig up the backyard. So hopefully they can do that. They said there would be a small delay. If it is a positive, which they're sort of hinting that yes, it is, they then have to go to a judge and go get some more search warrants to actually go destroy that backyard. It may be that they even need two. It may be that they need um, the mums and the neighbors, because they may have to take down that fence to actually dig under that whole area. Actually, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a look at the property because I want to see that fence line. 529. Okay. 529. I really just want to have a look at that fence. Yeah, it's 529 Each Branch Street. All right. I really want to have a look at it. All right, let's have a look. Can we get an overview? Okay. Oh, geez, the buddies. You think the satellites would be better, being this is America? Geez, satellites are really poor quality in this area. I'm surprised. I am really surprised that this won't go down further. Huh. That's the property there. It's really hard to see with the shadow on the side of that property. Um, is there a way around it? I really want to have a look. There's probably photos I could probably dig up. It's not a good view. I really wanted to have a look at that fence line. Maybe we can, no, that's not going to give us a view either. It looks very, oh, okay. There is a bit of a patch there. There is something here. I don't know what it is. I can't see. But see how there's like an awning that comes down? Hmm. It's a shame. Why is there not better satellite in this area? I'd love to know. Isn't this like the space, like it's not too far from where like all the shuttles and the space programs in California? I'm confused. What is going on with your satellite technology in this area? I swear to God, we've got better overviews from like country areas in America before. Yeah, that's yeah, and you've got a giant effing tree in our way too. Okay. It's hard to see, it really is. It's really, really difficult. See, it goes up on a corner almost. Yeah, damn. It's not this house, it's that one. So let's go back. We might have to use something like Google Earth maybe to get a better. Yeah, see, even if I show you on here, I've got another photo, but it's just bad quality. It's very pixelated. Shut up. Be quiet. All right, there we go. There is something there. I can't tell. Like it's some sort of awning, or is that where you would bury someone? I'd love to know your guys' opinion. If you were a serial killer, no. If you were gonna, I don't know. I just feel like you're asking for trouble, aren't you? You really are. If you enclose yourself with neighbors on all sides of your, look how many there are. There's neighbors on like all adjacent angles. You are surrounded, and your backyard is not that big. I'd love to know the details of how they thought they were going to get away with that, and how they thought they would never be caught, because I just, it is very brazen to, if it is her and she is there, very brazen to try and bury her right there. I just think you're asking for trouble. There you go. There's the better look at it. Yeah, I think you're asking for a lot of trouble. Maybe we can have a look at Google Earth and get a better view. Woman has still said not right off the back of my house. I find that interesting, right? I find that yeah. Anyway, I find it a strange place. Very close together. Yeah, we all know that if your if your backyard is here and there's another one here, your backyard is your neighbor's backyard and your neighbor's backyard is your backyard. The only thing that's stopping anyone is a fence. And a fence ain't going to stop anyone because the soil travels underneath between them. That's why we get the results we see here. It's almost like, do you think there's some sort of concrete vapor barrier that goes in between the homes? Do you think that people can't tunnel under your neighbors to find stuff? Like it it's very strange thinking to me. I always think it's weird when sometimes serial killers do things and they just seem so dumb. You go, why? Why? But it doesn't matter. It means that we get more answers and we find people and bring them home. That's the aim of the game. So let me read to you a little bit about how this works because it's fascinating. It really is. Let's take you out to this one. There's a couple, and I want to read to you about it because there's a bit of background on how this works and how they've done it. So the they're saying here, if soil testing could help locate Kristen's remains, it would be a landmark accomplishment for the fledgling approach. Now, this was when did they write this one? In 2024, so about a year ago. They're saying they're hoping the experimental method one day develops into a proven way to help find buried bodies and end the anguish of families searching for answers. But so far, it's only been used in a handful of forensic cases. They say Smart disappeared from Cal Poly May 25th, 1996, 28 years ago. And despite Susan Flores' son, Paul, being convicted of a murder, her body has never been found. Hopefully soon. If the soil testing could help locate Smart's remains, it would be a landmark accomplishment. Environmental engineer Tim Nelligan, environmental chemist Steve Hoyt, and former FBI chemist Brian Eckenrode and former federal prosecutor Tim Perry formed a team to test the soil along the shared fence between the Flores yard and her next door neighbor's property to try locate signs of Smart's body. The team believes they have found strong evidence of human decomposition event, and they say it's centered at the fence through multiple tests they've conducted from February 2020 to March 2023. They're the photos that should be still on your screen. They're the testing photos they've done. It's pretty cool. And uh, they're saying after articles on their testing were published in the LA Times, the Tribune, and some other papers, the men were contacted by the US Attorney's Office about another murder case. 6 months later, in September, federal court records showed they participated in the federal search warrant for the Washington case, performing the same tests and finding elevated levels of the same decomposing human body compounds as they did in the backyard of Flores' home. There's an opportunity for scientists and the community to aid and to use all the tools. What we feel is that we've come up upon an opportunity here where we have a tool that could not only help find Kristen's remains, we they say we think really this could be her legacy, which I think that would be really cool if they do use this technology to find her, and that ends up being the landmark case for this technology, it'll always bring her name with it, which would be a nice, like they said, a legacy for her that she'll always be associated with the technology that came out of Cal Poly. So that'd be really awesome. I think that would be one of those weird things that sometimes comes together in the world. And they say the Tribune, which is where this article comes from, investigated how the testing works and whether it can accurately detect a human body. And they're saying here that recruited to test their method in a Washington drug smuggling case that turned deadly in 2022, the Department of Homeland Security began investigating a crime organization suspected of running narcotics from Mexico to Yakima. And they say, as part of the investigation, agents spoke with two members of the organization, Cesar Murillo and Maria Hernandez, in December of 2022. They both were killed shortly after they spoke with investigators. So basically, they were murdered. They find out later that apparently they told the other people in the criminal organization that agents had come to speak to them. They wanted to wind down their participation in the narcotic smuggling, and that they wanted to assist with the investigation. I think that's a very dangerous thing to tell other drug smugglers. And unfortunately, as we all know, what happens if you say, "Hey, I want to talk to the cops," they were murdered very shortly after that event. In January 2023, agents unsuccessfully searched a 71-acre ranch for their remains before hiring this team to do this soil intrusion testing. Prosecutors obtained the warrant citing new scientific approach that could help find human remains, and a judge approved it. Then on August 30, the three of them, the scientists, placed around 30 soil testing probes in several areas of interest on the Yakima property. The scientists' results showed two probes returned positive results for several of the human remains compounds they have identified. Those probes ended up being near a female body. One probe 5 feet away, the other probe 10 feet away. Authorities returned to the ranch on September 13 to dig the area of interest, but at the same time, through other means, they determined the location of both bodies. Think somebody gave up where they were buried. They dug up the remains and removed them the next day. Despite the location of the bodies being known, the scientists received permission to return to the site on September 18 to test the soil composition. The results from the test near the body showed similar compounds to what was found near Susan Flores' home. And they said, I was not really surprised when we found the same group of compounds up in Yakima where they were where there were actual bodies buried. So they're saying their test results when they did this one in Washington match the results that they see on the screen that you have in front of you. This one here. They're saying they found it in very similar concentrations in the soil, except the one here at Susan's home or on the neighboring fence line, they are actually in higher concentrations than what they found in Washington, which that is really interesting. And I wonder if it's because of the advanced state of the decomposition. So, like the further you get through the decomposition, the more of these chemicals and the higher the levels are in the ground. So the ones in Washington were fairly new. They hadn't been there that long, not over 20 years or whatever. They had been roughly pretty fresh. So I wonder is like as you get through that decomposition process, as it gets older and older, does that human remains release higher and higher amounts of this chemical and does it build up in the soil? So that's interesting that yeah, they found the same compounds in the same density and composition, but the one we're looking for here for Susan at Susan's home is higher. I think that's very telling. They said here, the scientists tested for 44 chemical compounds that they say were emitted from decomposing humans near the Flores' yard and in Yakima. They say near the Flores' yard, 20 to 32 compounds were detected in various probes near the fence line, while 4 to 7 compounds were detected in the control areas near the yard, and they're saying it was between 119 to 3,300 feet away. So they still even found some in the control area. At the Yakima testing site, 22 of 25 compounds were detected near Murillo's body, while 14 to 29 compound were detected near Hernandez's body. The control areas, which were 3,600 feet away from Murillo's body and 1,600 feet away from Hernandez's body, detected 13 to 20 of the compounds being present. In addition to the increased number of compounds, the concentration of some of them were also higher at the burial sites than in the control areas. For example, carbon dysphosphide, one of the compounds associated with human decomposition, recorded near Murillo's body, tested as much as 13 times higher versus the control site. The levels tested up to 6 times higher near Hernandez's body. For another compound called pentanal, levels were up to 6 times higher near Murillo's body versus the control. Levels near Hernandez's body were as much as 3 times as high as the control area. The test near the Flores' yard showed even more dramatic differences for pentanal, and they're saying it is 26 times higher than the control near the fence line. This is what I mean by this higher readings in the backyard for Susan's backyard. 26 times the control. Yet in the one in Washington where they had two bodies and they were sort of fresher, they weren't buried for as long. They were between what was it, 6 times and 3 times the control. In the Flores' backyard, 26 times the control. So that tells you there's a lot of the pentanal that is floating about in the soil. That's really, really interesting. I wonder sort of why, and I wonder if it's just due to the length of the decomposition of the body. All right. Yeah, it's really cool. They're saying here they told the Tribune that the way the data is evaluated, both quantitative and quantitative, qualitative and quantitative, meaning both the numbers of different compounds present and amount of each detected is part of their analysis. They said presence of one or few compounds is not enough to determine whether a body is present. Soil composition can vary from place to place, so comparing their samples to the controls is key to figuring out whether human remains may be present. They say the soil investigative method used by them is known as vapor intrusion testing. It's used by both federal and state environmental protection agencies regularly to test for environmental pollutants, and the method is standard for soil pollution in particular. There you go. So they've sort of hijacked a known technology and focused it on a very specific area or region, dead bodies. They say the samples are taken by drilling holes in the ground, inserting tubes into holes, and connecting the tubes to a canister known as a probe. I think we have a photo of that for you, of a probe. I hope this is the right one. I was looking for them earlier. Is it this one? Uh, might be this one. There you guys go. So there's one of the holes in the ground connected to what I believe is the probe. And this is how they do the testing with these things. They're pretty awesome. They look like something out of science fiction, but they do a great job of testing that soil. Very cool. So they say here, once they capture the sample from the soil, it is then taken to a lab where the vapor is examined in a mass spectrometer, a tool that measures and identifies gases to create a unique profile of the vapor's source. That's the important bit. The mass spectrometer will fragment each of the compounds coming out and create a fingerprint of the compound. The method tests for soil vapor from a specific source. If that source were to be removed, the vapor should eventually dissipate and become less detectable or even undetectable. They say a natural breakdown of the compound can take a lot longer and varies between different compounds. So there are some chemicals we know which are called forever chemicals, which can be tested for forever. Um, yeah, so when I was telling you before how they didn't know, they're still trying to figure out how these different, like pentanal, moves in the soil for how long, how far. They're still not 100% sure, but they're saying here vapor begins to move right away after a source is removed, but soil can slow down that dispersal, and it can vary depending on the moisture and temperature of the ground. He added that the bodies in Yakima were buried for a year and they were able to detect high concentrations of compounds 18 inches away 5 days after the bodies had been removed. They said the compounds would test strongest near the source, but he also said it's unclear how fast and how far soil vapor compounds move in soil. So yeah, something they're still trying to figure out. And that if they can eventually figure that out based on temperature, moisture level, uh, environmental temperature, they may be able to figure out like, hey, a body was here, it was moved in the last week, it was moved in the last month, or the last year, based on where these chemicals go, how fast they move. So it's still a developing science. They've still got some questions that they want to answer. And they said this method of testing the soil is much less invasive way to search because the testing does not disturb a property to the same extent as search methods would, aka digging up an entire backyard with a backhoe. So yeah, it's very interesting, and they go on to talk about here how how pigs were used originally to train cadaver dogs, and how they're saying that when in their testing, they're looking for a singular human profile that is only emitted by humans. Not like it could be from a pig, it could be from a human. No, it comes from a human only. And that is the profile. So the more of this testing they do, the more sites that they can get access to, the more sort of bodies they can look at and profiles they can have a look at various different stages in decomposition and length of time in the soil, they will start to be able to narrow down that profile to a general profile. So when they test an area, they can compare it to, 1,800 cases that they've done before and say, this is within 5% of the normal profile. We believe it most likely is a human remains somewhere around here. And that is sort of what they're trying to do. They're trying to really tighten their testing methodology, and then try get these results and make some profiles that they can use, yeah, to test on different sites, which is really cool. They go on to say here that they've used places like the Tennessee Body Farm as part of their testing on decomposing bodies. Pretty cool. I don't think I'd like to go there, but apparently that is what they've done. Here, I've got another photo of you of them doing one of those probes near the back fence. Yeah, so this is them in the neighbor's yard, right on that fence line. It's interesting, actually, when we look at that fence line, you've got a typical timber fence there, and then you've got some very, very hard pavers. I wonder how deep those go. That's very a question Ping would like to know. I'd love to know how deep those pavers go. Yeah. But look, the testing, like we saw, is really, really high. Basically, where this log is located, which is kind of symbolic, um, right in this area, right where he's putting the probe. So they know what they're looking for, and now hopefully this is the end. Hopefully. Um, hey RX girl, how are you? You worked with a girl that worked there at the body farm? That would be cool. Hey, if this is the thing, if you ever have interesting people in your life that do interesting jobs like that connected to crime or whatever, and you think they would want to come in and talk to us about it, pass on my email, sundaywithping@gmail.com. We'd love to talk to interesting people like that and get their perspective on jobs they've done in life. I'd love to talk to them because I know they can't talk about certain things. They're probably under NDAs, but just in general, like what their experience were. I'd love to know that. Gayla said, I would like to go there and do what exactly? I saw a show where Australians went there and they walked around the the body farm, and they had a video camera with them, and there was like a body in a truck, there was like a body in a vegetable garden, there was like a body on the floor just over there was one just half in the ground, half above the ground. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I was like, "Do I have to watch this? Do I have to?" They were all in different states of decomp, and some were yellow, some were black, some were blah, blah. Some had, like, flies, and it was pretty gross. RX girl said, "I'll ask her. She was in law enforcement, but then changed to pharmacy. I'm in Tennessee, but I don't know how far away it is from me. She says you can smell it a mile away. Please get in contact with her and yeah, just casually ask her the question. I'd love to have her on and to talk about it. That'd be really cool. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it." Warner still said they put them in every situation they can think of. Yeah, I seen some. I wish I knew the video that I'm talking about. Might have been Hamish and Andy when they went to America. They went to the body farm and they filmed. Was it Hamish and Andy? I don't know. I think it might be. Was it Hamish and Andy or Top Gear? I can't remember. Maybe Hamish and Andy, maybe Top Gear. One of the two. And they went there and they were filming throughout the. Oh, let's look it up because you guys might want to watch it. I think it's Top Gear. No, Top Gear? Maybe not. Hmm. When I search it, neither of them come up. I can't remember. I've watched too many TV shows in my life. Um, but they were at the body farm and they were getting a tour of it, and there was a lady that was giving them a tour. and they were walking around, they were filming, but it was like most of it was blurred. I could have sworn it was Top Gear when they went out there. I mean, I was almost sure of it, but maybe yeah, it's for cars, but they they do those trips, those movies where they go to America and then to South Africa and things like that. I'll look it up. I'll find it. I'll find it. What show it was? Oh, it's in Knoxville. Yeah, about an hour away from you. Jill said one of the best Patricia Cornwell Scarapetta novels, The Body Farm. Can't say I've read it. Can't send a super chat. You're having like terrible problems with the donations lately. She couldn't send one yesterday, and she's not been able to send one today either. I think it's out to get you. I think the man is out to get you, Lisa. I think it's out to get you. Why? I don't know. I don't know what you did to the man. Let me just double check. We didn't get in trouble for anything, did we? I don't think so. Let me check my emails. No, we're all right on this side. Hey, good to see you. Hey, Truth, good to see you. Gail said yes, but I don't think they would stomach that. I'll figure out what show it was, but because you guys might want to watch it to see what it looks like. But yeah, they had people that were caught in barbed wire. Like one of them was as if they were an escaped prisoner, and they had crawled through barbed wire and then died. And they were sort of like half in some mud and then half in, yeah, it was, yeah. It's burnt into my mind. I wasn't even there, and I reckon I could smell it through the screen. It was pretty horrific, pretty gross. Yeah. I mean, bodies in the ground when they're skeletonized, they're just a skeleton, right? Like it's not that bad. Yeah, it's a little bit gross if they still have tissue or, whatever. But like actual forms of humans getting to skeletonization, it's just it's so offensive to like everything that we know, and it's just really offensive to our brains. I don't know how the people who work for morgues do it. I really don't know how they do it. You have to be a special type of person, I guess. All right. All right, let's continue. Yeah, so this is a very cool technology. I hope it finds her. I really do. I'd love for her to be found in this for not to be over as such. One of the things is if they find her on this property, I was reading today that the authorities that are doing the investigation really, really want to charge more members of the Flores family. They think that the dad got away when he shouldn't have. He should be in jail with his son, and then maybe they'll get another crack at it if it's found here at the mum's property, Susan's property, that they may be able to charge her with a crime because like how else would it be there if she had no knowledge? Like you're really stretching the truth to say, oh, I don't know how this dead girl that's been the center of our lives for 20x years somehow got under my back fence. You're really pushing the credibility there like a lot to be like, oh, I don't know. So hopefully that is what ends up happening. Iris Girl said, so I lied, just talked to her. She worked beside it. She said you can see through the fence and the smell was really bad. I'd still like to talk to her if she wants to talk about it. Jill said, someone has to do it. You get used to it. I'm going to stay on this side of the true crime world. But by the way, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it, my friend. It's very kind of you. I hope you're not at work. Are you at work? Are you doing the third shift again? RX girl always works late nights at her workplace, so she always tunes in when she's at work. Um, yeah, she always tunes in when she's on her shift. By the way, a lot of respect to our medical workers out there. Like they work some insane hours to try and keep us all healthy and get us out of hospitals and get us back to our families. I'm um I'm beyond grateful to anyone who works in the hospital or a nurse, personal care. You're one of these nurses that goes out to people's homes and helps them. When Mrs. Ping was sick, we had all sorts of different nurses and doctors and people that would come out. We even had a service every day for a couple of months that were coming out and checking on her and doing blood tests in the home. Like they would just do testing on the couch. It was pretty cool, and it's a hell of a job. So if you're a nurse out there, or you work in as a doctor, or you work as a clerk or something, you are appreciated. You are very, very appreciated. Hospice workers, yeah, all of those people, the people that work with people who are at the end of life, that's a very harrowing job, but I guess very fulfilling in its own way. So thank you if you work in that industry. It's a very hard job, but we appreciate you. It's very difficult. I'm sure there's days where you're like, F this, I ain't coming back on Monday, but you do come back on Monday and you keep going. So I appreciate it. All right, let's have a look. So yeah, we have a few. I think we have a few new photos from today. Yeah, look at this. Look how much work they're doing. It's great. I love seeing science like help with true crime. It's like my favorite subject. Look at this. I guess they're drilling into the ground to get the pipe in, to get the hose in, maybe. And it looks like they got like a jack. I'm guessing that's what that is. It's some sort of jack or to keep it stable or something. Pretty cool. But they've done this new testing. All right. I want to play a little video because I need a drink. I just spent over an hour talking, so I need to have a drink. Hold on. Uh, let's give you a small update. I know you would have watched it earlier. There was a press conference earlier today. Yes, here. I'm going to take you out to the press conference out here. Yep, we can use this one. I'm not going to play all of it, just watch it for a little bit.
A supervisor at the DA's office asked me to meet with the Smart family, and that is what I did. It was Denise and Stan Smart. We met really over coffee, and I was campaigning. They had seen my name, they had seen my challenger's name, and they wanted to talk to me about Kristen's case. They had a lot of disappointment, as you can well imagine, with the loss of their daughter, and didn't feel that the case had moved forward at all. They asked me probably a fair amount of questions about where I planned to take it, what my thoughts were. And what I explained to them is unchanged to today. And that is, we solve cases through witnesses and evidence. It takes one or both of those in order to solve the case. Well, by that time, in 2009, 10, probably a good 12 years had passed since Kristen went missing. The sheriff's office at the time had flagged all kinds of different leads and information looking for witnesses. And really a lot of that had run dry. We were getting kind of some of the old stories kind of replayed. But when I took office in 2011, what we did have is we'd had physical evidence. So we put together 3 teams. We had the FBI, we had our forensic people, and we had the Department of Justice.
Doesn't in every photo you see of her look like every 90s girl? Like typical American 90s girl. I still remember all that fashion because I grew up in the 90s as a young person. I was a little younger than Kristen was. I would have been uh, I would have been about 9, 10, 11, something like that. She was a little older than me, but you see all that fashion, and it was so popular back then, and it brings back so many memories seeing her dressed up in all of it. It's yeah, a typical 90s girl.
And they pulled out every single piece of seized evidence and went through it all. This case was very challenging from the very beginning because, as you may recall, if you know, the suspect, Paul Flores, had moved out of the dorm. The dorm room had been cleaned, so you're missing physical evidence, and you don't recreate that. You can't find it. You can find what you have. So we move forward. I'm going to fast forward a bit. So I inherited the case when I was 14 years old, and have had it for half of its life. When we began, when I began, and we did not have a dedicated detective that could work the case, but several years later, I was able to obtain what we called an unsolved cold case detective, and that'd be Detective Clint Cole. Clint, his tenacity, the Bureau's quality of investigators. I'm not bragging when I say I think they're amazing investigators that have done a phenomenal job. This led to obviously Paul and Ruben's arrest several years ago. The jury convicted Paul of murder. He got sentenced to 25 years to life. During one of the post-operation or post-conviction press conferences, I had already told the Smarts, Stan and Denise, and their two other children and their families that it wasn't a finality for us. The case was not over. The reality is Kristin was still missing.
His sentence doesn't seem like enough for what he's put that family through, does it? 25 to life. It should have been automatic life with nothing else behind it. He should never have the chance of parole. Never. I hope he never gets out. What he's put that family through, along with his horrible family, who seem complicit in all his offending and would do anything for for their beautiful boy. They would even help cover up a murder. What kind of people would do that? To, I don't know, you're willing to allegedly help your son bury a body in your property, then help him move it when the heat is coming down on you. You should get the same sentence that he did, and all three should be life in prison. All of them. If you're that complicit in making sure that she's not returning home to her family, then you basically did the crime as well. As far as I'm concerned, that's the same thing. You should, yeah, it's the same thing. They should be going away with him to prison for life. It should be life in prison. You've helped keep away. Nothing will bring her back, right? Nothing will bring her back. But you've helped prolong that agonized feeling for that family, all to try and protect your creepy son. I think you're just as complicit in killing her then. And that the fact that you've prolonged their suffering, I think that it's the same, if not worse, than the actual original crime. And yeah, I reckon they should be tossed in jail too.
Yes, there was some satisfaction with the family for justice, but these things, they never close. They give some peace, but peace would never be had until we recovered Kristin. So I vowed to them again that we would not give up the search for Kristin's remains, and it was my goal to bring Kristin home. Since that time, we've continued to work on the case. We've continued to search locations. At one point, just saying and once we satisfy that, then it becomes a slow, methodical search. We made the agreement that internally that we're not leaving that house until we are sure that we have checked everything. And when I say everything is what is reasonable. We can't go to somebody's house, regardless of what we might believe, and tear up the entire house. We have to base it on next step sciences. And that's exactly what we did in Ruben's house. That's exactly what we're doing now. So
You see how he's talking about next step sciences. That's why it's really important with this soil intrusion technology. It helps them get to that next point. Maybe a ground penetrating radar does, maybe, not always perfect. And this just helps them solidify their knowledge to then go to a judge and then get the funding, even from their own department, to say, we're going to do this and we're going to dig it up. So if that's what it leads to and we finally get her, brilliant, brilliant. I want to go further. This guy rambles for a freaking hour, bro. Just give us the update.
We arrived just before 7 on Wednesday to serve the search warrant, and we're prepared to go as long as it takes until we either find Kristin, find evidence, and are satisfied that everything has been searched. Okay, I think I'm gonna open it up to questions, but I'll say it one more time. You're going to get a lot of no comments on some of this stuff because I can. So
Thursday morning, an interview you did with a local radio host / podcaster was dropped. It was called an exclusive interview after a lot of local media was told we weren't going to get anything else from you guys. What do you have to respond about that, and why was that given to him?
Well, as you know, being in the media, that I don't have a responsibility to do any interviews, and my intention was not to do any interviews. That was the message I gave to our PIO, Adam Montiel, who I happen to know called me, caught me at a time that I was actually available, and I agreed to talk to him. If you listen to it, it was very, very benign, and it was about following what we had already put out in a press release. So
Oh, that was a bit spicy. So if you didn't catch that, what happened is, so I don't know if a lot of you know how this works. I know how it works now because I've done it a lot now. If you want information from a police department, you have to go through the PIO, and the PIO is the public information officer. They're the first point of contact for media. So if you want to go to the press conference, you want to get on the media list, you want to get on the email list, like whatever, you have to contact the PIO. They're like the first line of defense. You have to get through them. You have to prove your credentials or whatever, and they'll check you out to make sure you're not just some weirdo with an Instagram page, right? So you will have to go through them at first. What happened here is apparently the media were contacting the PIO and saying, like, when is there going to be availability? When can we speak to him? And the PIO gave the message that there was no availability. He will not be taking any interviews on this subject, and that there's nothing forthcoming at this time. And then apparently a local podcaster or radio host, both maybe, um, got an interview and called it an exclusive, and it's pissed off all the localized media, all the ABC and the NBC and whatever. They are pissed because it seems like a podcaster beat them to the punch. And all I have to say is, ha ha. And it's funny as hell that a podcaster beat you to your own game. You guys got to get some tenacity. That was good. Um, Gail said, he basically said, I don't need to talk to you, but I was nice and gave someone 5 minutes. Yeah, he has no obligation to do anything for anyone. And the fact that that reporter basically spoke as if she was owed an interview, I don't think he took that very kindly. Yeah, that was funny though. I love when the media gets upset. Khaliza said, hey Ping and everyone, hey, good to see you all. Good to see you. That was funny as hell. Let's listen to the rest of it.
the short answer is I chose to do it.
Sheriff Parkinson?
What new evidence prompted the search warrant?
I'll just say it was investigative and scientific information that met that threshold.
Sheriff Parkinson, can you explain some of the process or what exactly the soil scientists are doing? It's very visible, as we've all seen. Can you just go a little bit more into detail on what they're looking for?
Well, I'm not a scientist, so I don't want to stumble. Other than the simple explanation is they put probes in the ground to read the soil under the ground. They take that back to the lab. They analyze what components are in that soil, and because the readings that they identify as strong and possessing human DNA, that's what helps them conclude that they think there might be.
I think he misspoke there. He said strong and consistent human DNA, not human DNA. I don't think that's right. I think it's just chemicals let off from decomposition of a human. I don't think there's actually any DNA testing, at least not that I'm aware of. I don't think they're doing any DNA test. Maybe they are, but I don't think so. I think it's mostly just testing for volatile compounds that get released when a human is in the ground and decomposing. So there's like a certain set of chemicals, as we went through for the last hour, that get released when a body is in the ground. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's why he said, he goes, I'm not a scientist. And then he tried to speak on it, and I think maybe he slipped up a little bit. Maybe. All right.
Something there, or was there?
And to follow on that, is there a timeline on when you'll get results?
We're getting results a little bit day by day. It's a long process to analyze the soil. We have a local lab. They're the people that are actually analyzing it. So they've been analyzing every night since we've been there. So throughout the night, they put it in their test machines and they run it through. Then they have to look at the data. Then that data goes to the person that's going to interpret it and see that data and see if that matches the thresholds. So it's a long process. It's not as simple as just, throwing it in a machine and getting, results right away. I think I would say a scientific process to get to that point. And
Well, they were the scientists who were doing, and the company who does the who does the testing. They were saying it can be anywhere from a single day to 2 weeks. It can take them to get a full visual of what is under that ground. Between a day or two to 2 weeks. It can sometimes take a while to actually know what they're looking at, translate that data into something like that's easy to look at. It doesn't get spit out of the machine looking like a heat map like that. That gets done later. This is done later. So it doesn't just get spit out of the friggin', mass spectrometer looking like that. Yeah, vapor, right? Yeah, volatile compounds is what, or compounds from decomposition is what it's called. So yeah, I think he misspoke. I don't think there's any, unless they are swabbing for DNA separately. I don't think there's a process to do both in one. I don't think you, I don't think you let off DNA particles in vapor, do you? I don't know. I'm not a DNA chemist. I don't know. But I wouldn't think so. I think it would be a very specific type of testing, like some sort of swab testing to try and find DNA in soil. I just think that maybe he just misspoke. Maybe they're looking for DNA. Maybe that was a little drop of some truth. Maybe they're looking for some sort of DNA to try and test it against known samples of Kristen Smart. Maybe.
so we've been meeting with them daily as they get results, and we'll continue to do that. Matter of fact, they have another meeting this morning.
Sheriff Parkinson, do you plan to dig up any areas of the backyard and or move the white van in the driveway and ground scan under that?
We plan to, well, I'll say this, we will dig anywhere that the evidence shows us. And that's why we utilize GPR to analyze that. That structure's been through over the years a lot of different, add-ons. It's kind of, how do I put it? If you've ever walked in a house that's had a bunch of add-on rooms, most of the time you can tell. That backyard, as you see from, must be that photo. It's a small backyard, and it's because building came and I'm using my hand to demonstrate where the house is. As that house moved out, that backyard shrank. And I would probably say it's 15, 20 by 30. And I was surprised. The first time I've ever been back there was Wednesday morning. I've seen photos, but we have not been back to that backyard in my tenure. So
that is very interesting information. That one, he'd never been back there before. Two, that the house has been like had additions put on over the years and has grown in size, pushing up against that fence line. Concerning. I wonder if she's under those pavers. I mean, they use some sort of decking or coverage at the other home. I wonder if she's under the pavers, because your aim would be to try and cover her up with something so annoying to sort of dig up or build, something that the cops would really have a hard time trying to get under or disassemble or dig through, something that would be difficult. So I wonder if she's under the pavers. I wonder. I wonder if that's why they're there. That's what I wonder. Under the addition? Oh, you reckon all the way back under? Like under the actual house? Ooh. I mean, they've done it in other ones. That one in Texas that we talked about the other week. You remember the cold case where the ex-partner killed his girlfriend, ex-wife, whatever you want to call it, and buried her actually under one of the bedrooms? Possibly. I mean, we just heard a case in Texas that happened. Kelly said it wouldn't be the first time it's happened. No, there was that one where the daughter, when we like the daughter. Hold on. Just having a mental blank. Kimberly Langwell. Remember Kimberly Langwell in Texas? And she was found when we showed you the photos of the crime scene, where they dug actually into a foundation and under a freaking bedroom to get her back. Do you guys remember that? They actually dug through the bedroom floor. I don't know if I have the photos anymore. I don't think I have them anymore, but we did show them to you at one point. Actually, maybe I do have them. Let me have a look. Is that it? No. I don't think I have them. We must. I don't know where we got them from, but we got them at one point, and they actually dug into the bed. So you guys might be right. Maybe it's further back into, like, not under the pavers. Maybe it's actually under the home itself. It's also happened it's happened in a few places, right? In Florida too. Yeah. So let's have a look. What is it again? 529 East Branch Street. The home itself is on 1,064 square feet. They describe it as a 2-bed, 2-bath, single-family home. It was built in 1918, and the house is 1,064 square feet, but the lot property is 4,050 square feet. So that is like the description of it. I wish we had a better photo. Yeah, actually, yeah. Come here. Is that the extension right there? Do you guys see this square? This looks like it might be the original home, this bit here. And then they've built this square extension on it here. That looks like maybe the lengthening of the property. It looks like it probably used to come up to maybe like just here, which is interesting because the vapor plume that we saw on the heat map is like right here. It's right smack bang in the middle of that extension. Yeah, I'll see if I can put it back up. See? There's that square bit right there. And she's right on. If that's where the heat is, that's right on the edge of where the extension finishes, actually. So if we followed the heat map, she might be like right here. You know, somewhere like right there on that corner. I doubt she's further down here because that heat map would be wider. It would be, you got to follow where it's coming from and where that strong signal is. So I think she'd be right somewhere here. So right on that corner of that, what I think is probably the extension to the property. Interesting, interesting. You're pulling the whole house down. The whole garden's practically gone. Is there a street view? I think we had one before, but it's very hard to see. It's very hard to see from the street view of like really anything, because it sort of goes up on a hill, and you can't really see around it. Hold on, let me get it again. I'll take you back out there, but it's hard to really see anything. It's right there. This is the property right here, but see, you can't really see. It's right there. It's very, very hard to get a good view, but that side area is very small. You could really only walk down it. It's not very wide. I wish we had a better view of up through here, but we don't. But that's the house. Let's have a look on this side. What's up here? It's just concrete. Yeah, that bit's just concrete. There's that white van again. That white van that we saw in the footage. So even if we go around the back side of the property, you can't really see a lot. There's the neighbor's yard. That's where they did the testing right here. So could she be under the foundation for this addition? See how there's like the corner post that goes all the way down? That matches on the other photo. Here. I wonder if she's under the foundation post. See how the corner of the building goes straight down here? And that is right where that strong signal is. I wonder if she's under, like, you would have like a concrete slab most likely, and then a corner post that would be a load bearing corner for this construction. I wonder if she's directly under that, because that'd be very, very hard to dig up, because you'd have to destroy, or you'd have to come in sideways and then go under to try and, it's a very difficult job. Or you'd have to take down this fence and then sort of dig down and then under to try and find out what's there. I wonder if she's under that corner, which would place her, yeah, under the foundation. Interesting. Why does that shape look like a flying squirrel? I don't know. When did they build the addition? I don't know. Let's have a look. I'm not sure. Someone with better knowledge of the house maybe would know. Let me see. Maybe it would be through the planning records for that property, because you would have to get, for this size addition, you'd have to go through the city. The city would have details most likely on it. Yeah, let's have a look. Extension planning addition. What year? That's not what we want. Yeah, I gotta word this better. Let's have a look. A building per no, that's not it. I don't know. It says here that the last permit request was for October 12th, 2021, but that was for a solar installation on the roof. Yeah, that was for a solar installation, but it doesn't tell me about when. Or when that might have been done. I don't know. There does seem to be some city records available on it, but I can't seem to access it. It's through the Arroyo Grande City website, but it's not allowing me to access it because I'm an Australian person and it only likes a USA connection. So they do have a bunch of city records on the property, but I can't seem to get them, which is annoying. There's a trap door in the kitchen floor. That's that's fucking creepy. A trap door? Like to an old like that would the house be old enough to have like a like a root cellar? Would you even have a root cellar in California? I guess. I mean, that's probably like that's where they did like the gold rush and they did that type of thing. And the house was built in 1918. So is it like an old root cellar? That's creepy. Could you have used something like that, a root cellar, to dig under the house and then put her in there in like an internment? Like an internment, like when they do a funeral and they intern them? Ugh. It's an old house, yeah, very old. Yeah, it's a root cellar? Hmm. That's fucking creepy. Ugh. Yeah, but I still reckon she might be under that. Maybe they dug really far under to get her far away because you don't want her close to that door if that is the trap door because you smell it. It's very strong. That's why they bury people 6 feet under. So one, you can't smell it. Two, animals can't dig it up. There's no sign of decomposition on the surface of the soil. Um, hmm, creepy as hell. It's weird though, the heat pattern is going away from this, like, I'm guessing the kitchen's right here or something, and if there is a cellar under here, it's strange that the heat pattern's sort of pointing in this, it's on an angle, and if you would look at it, it's still on this area, somewhere over here. I would think so, being how hot that signature is. What's our Yeah, so you see here at the range finder here, that bright red is the top of their range here. It's not like, see, the blue is the lowest of the range. So it is the top of their readings. Hmm. I think it's got to be somewhere like here, somewhere over here to follow that heat graph. How far or how deep? I don't know, but somewhere on that corner, I'm guessing, which I don't know. That's creepy, Moonlight View. That's very creepy. To have a root cellar, you got a missing girl, could be buried on your property, and you have heat maps showing vapor chemicals from decomposition. Just knock it down and start again. Just knock the whole thing down. Fi- Find the body. Find the body and then just bulldoze it. Look, very creepy, guys. Very, very creepy. But yeah, it makes sense when you look at how high the property is up. Yeah, I'll take you back. Look how high that property is. It's quite a like this is flat here. Well, not flat. You sort of even go further downhill this way too, but it's quite high. You can see from this point here to up here, you got quite a lot of earth under it. There's quite a lot. So if there is a basement or a root cellar, you've got quite a lot of soil under there. And this is interesting too. It looks like you can get under the house. you've got all like that, I don't know what you call it, like they put it up. I'm not sure of the name of it, but this thing here, you only see that on homes where you can get underneath them. I don't know how far back you can get underneath the home, but there is an entrance here. You would be able to get under there for at least a period. I don't know how far back that goes, but there must be a cavity under that home because otherwise, why would you have this meshy, woody mesh thing here? So there's yeah, a lot of secrets on this property, I think, Ping things. A lot of secrets. Ah, we want to go that way. Thank you. Creepy, guys. Very creepy. But yeah, if that heat map's traveling under here, I still think you got to look at that cross section. I don't know. I wonder how deep she is under there. If she is there, how far could they have got her under there? I mean, people do some crazy things, like in the Kimberly Langwell investigation. They couldn't find her for years. Used ground penetrating radar, couldn't find her, and it wasn't until someone told what they knew that they were able to pinpoint where exactly she might be, and then they just dug through the concrete and eventually found her tomb of where she was lying for like 30 years. So this might end up very much like Kimberly Langwell, where we find her very much um under a property. So brutal. Lattice. Thank you. That's a good word, my friend Mountain B. Lattice. Iris Girl said it's either under the house or the dad moved her when he got out of jail. I think the scientists were sort of hinting at that the amount of chemicals or whatever word, biochemicals, I'm not sure, but the vapors and stuff that they're picking up with the probes, that it doesn't seem like a body that's been moved. They were saying that from their research and other cases that they've done, the sort of high readings that they're getting would indicate that there would be human remains, not like when it was at the other property where they knew she may have been there at some point but was moved. They're saying that the readings here are really high, where they think there's a good chance, not perfect, but there's a good chance they think it's human remains. So we'll have to see how their progression goes on this. Kim said, I wouldn't want to tell on this family. I think they are the most hated family in this area. I personally know people who live in this area, and they want Kristen. They want her to go home. They want her to go back to her family. They want this story to be done. Like it's haunted this community for almost 30 years. They want the answers, and they want it to be. They want her back to her rightful family. They want her to be buried properly. I don't think anyone likes his family in the area. I think they are well hated for what they've done. Moonlight View said she was moved twice before Ruben and Flores went on trial. That's the theory, right? That it wasn't just once. I heard that before, Moonlight View, that they believe it's at least twice. Yeah, they moved her around. Aris Girl said, can someone totally disappear or just not found her yet? I think it's just the difficulty of the site. I think they're trying to figure out like where and how to do this. It's not as simple as like, let's go get a backhoe and destroy half a property. Like he said in the press conference, they can't do that. They have to work off the evidence that they have, and they can only follow that. So I think that's part of their issue right now is they're trying to get enough to then go to their, a judge or their superiors and say, we got enough. Let's go for the whole thing and let's go do this and dig it up. Like, let's go knock down things and dig stuff and go under things. which I think they will do. I think we're there. Ping believes that we're there. I think this is it. I think hopefully this will be the last thing and we'll finally be able to bring her home. I hope so. I want her to go home. Marlene Clausen said Betty Broderick died in jail. She was 78, killed her ex and new wife. Betty Broderick. I don't know that one. Betty, is that Betty? I don't know if I know this one. An American woman who murdered her ex-husband Daniel, 1989, as well as his new wife Linda, as an act of revenge after Daniel cheated on her and divorced her. It was in San Bernardino County in the US, so not far from where we're talking now. So she died in prison. That's what it's saying. Yeah, 2 hours ago. Wow, she was an old lady in prison. You see her at trial and she was quite young, and then you see her when she in prison. Look, I'll show you.
We begin tonight with one final update on one of San Diego's most notorious murder cases. Convicted killer Betty Broderick has died. Good evening. I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. The Department of Corrections says Broderick died this morning at a medical facility in Chino at the age of 78. A cause of death has not been released. In 1989, Broderick turned herself in after her ex-husband, prominent attorney Dan Broderick, and his wife Linda were found shot to death in their Marston Hills home near Balboa Park. After 2 highly publicized trials, the first ending in a mistrial, Betty was convicted of second-degree murder in 1991. The case inspired multiple TV dramatizations and still captures national attention decades later.
Wow, thanks for letting us know. I've never heard of her before. I don't remember this case. It is a little before my time. 1989, Ping was 4 years old. Yeah, so it's a little before Ping's time. I don't remember this one, and I don't know anything about it, but yeah, she really aged. Like, you saw the photo in the video we just played. That's her from back at, I'm guessing, her trial or when she was arrested. That's who she was back when it happened, and then that was her image. Hey, Moonlight View, how are you? What did you say before? No, that's not Moonlight View. Yeah. There's a whole Pacific Ocean to dispose of anything in too. You know, I always find that funny on coastlines, Moonlight View, why people don't use the ocean more. Um, Especially when you've got such like high currents that lead down the south coast of Mexico. And, you know, it seems like you're safer to have something in the water than you are on land. I don't know. Just I always think that, especially even in Melbourne where I live, we're surrounded by water. Yet people always are like, I buried them in my backyard. And it's like, we have all this water. What are you doing? You crazy murderers. They don't know what they're up to. Mountain Bee said yes, and the secretary was many years younger and looked like Betty did when they married. Ugh. Classic case of the husband diddling the secretary. I really don't remember that one. There's a film? I probably was. Probably was. There was a movie about it? Okay, what was the movie? Is that the movie called Forsaking All Others? Hold on, let's look it up. There was a movie? Maybe Ping will watch it. Movie. Oh, it's called Till Death Do Us Part. Is that the one that everyone's seen? Like, was that the most popular one? Or there's another one called A Woman Scorned. So there's a couple that they made about her. Which one is the most popular? A Woman Scorned or Till Death Do Us Part? You guys will have to let me know. Oh, there looks like there's another one called Her Final Fury. Oh, super insinuating. Uh, so so basically, she was pissed off because the husband left her. Is that what it was? So the husband was diddling his secretary, left her and the children, I'm guessing. Um, and she was pissed off that she was basically the old maid. She basically got left for a younger model. I mean, I guess I can understand a woman being quite angry about it. Jules said the scorned one. Okay, I'll try and find it. I don't know if you can find it anymore. Mountaby said he did her so dirty, took everything in the divorce. I mean, I can understand why she was very upset. It's not very nice, is it, to leave your wife who has birthed your children and then to go start banging the secretary, all because, the secretary's hot, hasn't had any kids yet, and you're all like, yeah, let's go back to the model before the children. Like, that's not cool. Like, don't be such a jerk. Be nice to your ladies. Jules says she put him through med school and law school. Are you serious? And he still screwed her over? Maybe he deserved to be dead. Some people ask for it. Moonlight View said she put him through law school. Some people ask for it. He may have asked for it in his own way. Meredith Baxter. Watch Dear John Betty. Okay, what is Dear John? What is Dear John? Dear John. I know what a Dear John letter is, but I don't know. Oh no, it's called Dirty John. Dirty John, the Betty Broderick story. Okay. This was in 2018 to 2020. Oh my god, thank God I don't have to watch something from 1980. It's like a new version of it. Okay. Oh, it's like a Lifetime movie. Okay, cool. I like Lifetime. They have some okay stuff. Oh, it's a USA one. Same. There you go. Oh, I know this guy. I know that actor from somewhere. I don't know where from though. Okay, so this is like a modern retelling of it. Okay, cool. I will probably be able to find that one. So I'll give it a go. Hey, I mean, I don't blame her in a way. I mean, murder is never the answer, but some people do some pretty crappy stuff, and the fact that he basically left her when she became the old maid is pretty awful. Like, isn't that the whole thing about marriage? That you're supposed to go like he's no spring turkey either, spring chicken. And isn't that the whole ideal? That you're supposed to grow old together, you know, lumps, bumps, and aging. Isn't that the whole deal? I always thought it was. I don't think um you're supposed to just get bored one day and decide, you know what? I'm worth two younger models. I'm going to go and leave this one and go get myself a 20-year-old yoga instructor. I think that just shows more about your own internal personality and who you are as a quality human, that you would do that to someone who gave you so much. I think that's pretty crap. Let's see. Yeah, I before tonight, I'd never heard of her, eh? She shot her ex-husband Dan and his new wife Linda. What did Linda do? Why'd you shoot her? I mean, the husband I sort of get, but why'd you shoot the girl? I mean, it's not sort of her fault in a way, is it? I mean, it's not really her fault. Um, huh. Apparently, after their wedding, apparently the new wife begged him to wear a bulletproof vest because they knew how much issues they were in. Yeah, at her wedding in April 1989, Linda Kolkena begged her partner Dan Broderick to wear a bulletproof vest because she was terrified that his jealous ex-wife would attack him. 7 months later, that's exactly what happened. Kolkena and Broderick had begun dating while he was still married to the woman named Betty. For 7 years, they snuck around until Broderick divorced his wife in 1985 and moved in with Kolkena. A devastated Betty immediately began seeking revenge. She left them constant angry voicemails, broke into their house, spray painted their walls, and even drove her car right into the side of their home. Finally, on November 5th, 1989, Betty broke into the couple's bedroom while they were sleeping and shot them to death. There you go. And today she died. Oh, by the way, how was the video tonight? Did we have freezing? I changed a couple of things and I'm hoping the video was much better tonight. I don't know why we kept getting all this freezing. Even last night's show, it was doing it. I checked it on the replay. Were we freezing again tonight? I hope we weren't. I hope I fixed it now. If not, we may have a problem because we bought this camera a year ago, and when we first bought it, it never used to freeze. We never had any freezing problems with it. It worked fine. And it's only recently that it started to sort of freeze up for like 30 seconds to a minute at a time, and then it will go back to playing video. It may be that this camera is starting to die. So I hope that's not what's going on. Not at all tonight. It wasn't doing it. I hope not. I fingers crossed because I hope the camera is not dying. But we are going to look for getting maybe a better quality studio camera at some point. It's not a urgent thing. At some point over the next year or so, we may look at getting an actual DSLR to shoot with, get a better photo and a better framing and stuff like that. Marlene said Linda did her part with Betty also. She did. I'll have to watch the movie after we get out of here. I've never heard of her before. Linda Kolkena. We'll try and find another one about Betty because I want to show you another one. Since we're all learning together, let's have a look. Do we have like a little update about her? No, but just from ABC 10, just saying that, yeah, she died. I think it might be the same. Yeah, I'll play it for you.
One of the most notorious killers in San Diego history has died. ABC 10 News has confirmed Betty Broderick was pronounced dead this morning. Broderick killed her ex-husband and his new wife as they slept in their La Jolla home in 1989. The murders became a national sensation, and Broderick's story was chronicled many times, including a 2020 Netflix series. Broderick was serving a life sentence at a women's prison in Chino before reportedly being moved to a medical facility last month. No word on a cause of death. Betty Broderick was 78.
Yeah, she apparently died in the hospital. What do you guys think? Do you think she regretted it, dying in a prison jail? I wonder if these kind of people who do things out of extreme emotional distress, spending what was like 40 years in prison, do you think they regret it? Do you think on their deathbed they wish they hadn't? Do you think she wishes she moved on with her life and just, I know it would have sucked of what he did to her, but do you think maybe she wished she hadn't at the end? I mean, I get why she was very upset. She didn't seem sorry to me. I didn't say she was sorry. I said, do you think that she regretted it? They're not the same thing. You can be not sorry for committing the crime, but also regret doing it. Gail said, I don't know. Me either. I find it interesting. I wonder, in those final moments in that hospital bed where she'd been confined to a cell since like, what is it, like 1990 or something? I wonder. I wonder. Very sort of sad in multiple ways. Well, they're not alive. Did they have children? Are they alive? Let's have a look. Betty Broderick. Are her kids still alive today? So they lost their dad and their mom. Yes. So she had a children called Lee, Daniel, Rhett, and Kim. Yeah, Lee, Daniel, Daniel Jr. and Rhett. Kim, Lee, Daniel Jr. and Rhett. So they had to basically grow up without their mum and dad. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I wonder what they're doing today, knowing that their mum died in hospital. Brutal. Let's see. Betty wrote in her 2015 memoir that this was not the ending she expected when she started her family. She said, I absolutely adore my children from the first moment of the day to the last, and I still do. They were my priority, and I wanted so badly for them to have a happy childhood. Wow. Apparently, the Broderick children have grown up now and have their own families. Apparently, they have two children and two grandchildren now. Crazy. Apparently, Kim and her brothers Dan and Rhett are all married with children, all girls that Betty's never seen outside of prison walls. So they have visited mum and grandma in prison. So it looks like the children eventually made peace with the fact of what their mum did and went and saw her in jail. Interesting. Iris Girl said she would never have moved on, just be miserable and make everyone around her that way. Moonlight View said she regretted it. Yeah. Jill said, I'm sure the 4 kids she had a live-in boyfriend at the time. Okay. Is Rhett a normal American name? I think there's a H in it. Rheett, I think. Yeah, I've heard Rhett as a name. Amy. Hey, Amy. How are you, my friend? Like Gone with the Wind. Yeah, like Gone with the Wind. Kelly said that is interesting they would visit her. It seems like they made their sort of peace with what she did, and that they ended up going and visiting her numerous times, according to what I just read in this article. Apparently, yeah, they went and saw her quite a few times. Apparently, Betty's daughters even testified at their mother's criminal trial in 1991. Yeah, crazy. Let's have a look. Hmm. Ah, there you go. Apparently, the son, Betty's youngest son, was on Oprah many years ago. I don't know if many of you remember this, but he was on Oprah. That is Rhett. Apparently, he was on Oprah for the 30th anniversary season. There you go. Gayla said they loved her. Just learn to let it go. Yeah, you got to, otherwise you may end up in jail for shooting your ex-husband and his new partner. Very possibly. Apparently, there is very old archive tape of her trial on Court TV. I can't play any of it because Court TV are very anal about their footage, but there is really old. I'm not going to play it, but there is really old footage of her trial. If you want to go back and actually watch her in trial, you can see. I don't know how many days this is, but it says they've got multiple parts on Court TV. I will put it in the chat in case you want to go look at it after. There you go. Hey, Amy, good to see you, my friend. I only met one Rhett, and he would have been born in the 70s, 80s, like her son. Maybe it was like a really popular name at the time. Let's have a look. Okay. Kelly said, old trials compared to now, what's allowed is wild. Yeah. Hey, Danielle. Good to see you. Jules said they replayed it over the years. It was a big case. I'll have to watch some of it. Yeah, like I said, I've never heard of it. Never, ever. Let's see. Kelly said, yeah, Rhett isn't a common name anymore. What about Rhett and Link from Good Morning? What is it? Good Mythical Morning. There's Rhett on that channel. He would have been born in the late 70s. So there's Rhett and Link on Good Mythical Morning. Marlene said, I just remember months before the killing, Betty drove her car into the front of his home. Yeah, they said that in the obituary thingy. They said that. All right. Do we have anything else for today for you guys? I don't think so. I think that's probably it for tonight. Did I have one more story? I think I might have one more. Let me see. Oh, I have one from Kentucky. That's right. For Kathy Lynch. Apparently there's a missing Kentucky student. So I'm just going to see if they've got an update to that. No, apparently they have not located her. So they are looking for a young girl. And I'm going to take you out to that story.
Doing everything they can to find 22-year-old Murray Faust.
The NKU student was last seen a week ago. Local 12's Christian Hauser shows us the search efforts and what areas Covington police are focusing on.
Alexis Faust, who goes by Murray, was last seen here in Covington's Latonia neighborhood. Now, we're about a block east of Holy Cross Church, and this is one of the areas the Covington police are asking homeowners to check any outdoor camera they may have that may have caught Faust walking by a week ago. Faust lives in Latonia and was supposed to be in class at NKU on Monday the 27th, but never made it. They're supposed to graduate later this month. Friends have been placing these posters up throughout the area, hoping someone spots Faust and can help locate the missing 22-year-old. Covington police also called an EquiSearch Midwest a professional search team.
They're doing the investigation into this, and we're out there clearing ground for them, and they're putting us in good areas also that they need checked out, that they can't, that they don't have the resources to do.
Rader says the teams are deploying everything they can to help find Faust.
We also brought in a few of the dogs from Indianapolis, and then we also flew the thermal at 4 a.m. So our drone pilots were busy at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Police are asking for anyone who may have doorbell or surveillance footage from this area just north of East Southern Avenue near the railroad tracks to check their cameras from last Monday between 5:45 and 6:15 p.m. Officers are also asking homeowners in this area of East 33rd Street and Winchester Avenue to check any cameras they may have. That's just south of the Marathon Oil facility. There have been a lot of questions on social media about folks meeting up for search parties. Rader says they're not at that point, at least not yet.
But if we choose to go in that direction, that's something that we'll sit down with Covington PD, put our heads together and put this on in a controlled environment.
Now, if that changes and a public search will happen, we'll let you know as soon as we can. In Covington, I'm Christian Hauser.
Yeah, a long time for them to be missing. The last update I see is a couple of days ago where they're urging people to bring surveillance footage. That's what they want. Any type of camera footage where they might have captured Alexis. So yeah, I'll play the little bit about the video cameras.
Police are asking for help finding a missing Northern Kentucky University student.
Volunteers helping in the search say the most important thing people can do right now is spread the word. Murray Alexis Faust was last seen Monday, April 27th in the Latonia neighborhood of Covington. Friends say Faust left their phone at home and one of their backpacks was later found on NKU's campus. They say Faust planned to go to class that day but never arrived. Faust's car was found about a block from the home. Friends also say Faust appeared to be in good spirits before disappearing.
Right now, we don't have what we're looking for, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, she could still be out there and just going through some things and that nobody knows about, and she's still walking amongst us, and it's just going to take some time to sit there.
Yeah, it was very quiet, but they're searching for anyone with dash cam, CCTV, Ring doorbell, anything like that. So that's what they're looking for. Gayla Murray? Okay. It's giving me like multiple names. It says Murray Alexis Faust. Okay, I don't know which one. We're supposed to use both of them, all of them, one of them. It's okay. I mean, that's what it says there. So sad to me. Unfortunately, one of the not weird, I don't think that's the right word. One of the trends in missing people over the last few years has been anyone who's like transgender, and when they go missing, unfortunately, they've gone missing to commit S word, and it's happened so frequently. I think we've done about 10 or 20 of them on this channel, and they always seem to go missing from a university. It's happened a lot. I don't know what's driving it, but I can tell you that we've seen quite a number of them over the years on this channel. There was one last year where I think it was a transgendered female had gone missing from a university somewhere up north in the northeast coast, and they were looking for her for days, and ended up finding her in a paddock. They were just in this random paddock near the school, and they was not alive, unfortunately. But it took like 4 or 5 days for them to track down where they were, and that was very sad. Like no one understood, and there was no signs or anything. They just left one day, turned off their phone, and ended up in a paddock, unfortunately. Oh, the woman in the bin in Marysville? Ah, thank you. I did not. We should have. Yeah, I want to look at that. Sarah Cliff. Okay, yeah, yeah. Oh, I want to see that. I sort of forgot about it because I kept checking and there was no updates. Ah, yes. I want to know about that. Thank you for letting me know. I definitely want to know about this. Why was she in a bin? Ah, I can't get a video for it. I can't get a website for it. Keep getting blocked. All right, here.
It's just been like a CSI crime scene investigation. You wouldn't believe it. And the unknown. And it's still very leery. It's a bummer.
Investigators now know who was found in a waste bin outside this Marysville apartment complex. But the mystery and the pain still remain.
Just, I don't know. Nobody deserves to be dumped like that, or, no matter what. It's just sad they put her in something like that and just disposed of her.
Neighbors heartbroken over the loss of life. A body found last week in a green yard waste bin.
Startled the heck out of me.
Bob Stocks is the resident who made the shocking discovery.
So I quickly closed up the lid again. I was, beside myself.
Investigators say the body, now identified as 40-year-old Sarah Marie Arnicliffe, was found partially clothed with no distinctive tattoos or markings.
It was in the way of the other bins, so I was going to move it aside. Couldn't. It was heavy. So I looked inside, and lo and behold, there was a body.
Authorities have still not released how she died or why.
I've been here for 40 years. I've been a PIO for over 20, and this is a first for our town. And so it is shocking.
I have a photo of her. Here's a photo of her. Yeah, I don't see a ton of updates for it, unfortunately. They're saying she was a 40-year-old resident of Marysville, Washington, so she lived locally and was recently identified by the Snohomish County Medical Examiner following her death in late April. Other than that, they've not released any cause or official manner of death and are still pending toxicology results. They're saying investigators noted no apparent signs of physical trauma on her body, and the Marysville PD is currently investigating the case as a potential homicide. They're saying that she was known to local law enforcement through unhoused outreach programs. Her mother, Elizabeth, shared that Sarah had moved from Tacoma to Marysville to be with her boyfriend and had faced personal struggles with addiction and homelessness. There you go. I did ask when she went missing, I was wondering if she was a worker, a sex worker. I always had a funny feeling she might have been, just because of a few key pointers. Let's have a look. Yeah, they say detectives are waiting for toxicology results to determine the exact manner of death as they continue to investigate the circumstances. So we'll have to wait a bit longer, but I'm glad they've been able to talk to her mom and at least tell her where her daughter is. But how she ended up in that bin, don't know. They say an autopsy has been performed, although, again, an official manner of death is still pending. Investigators are waiting for toxicology results before making a final determination. So we're going to have to wait a little while to find out more about what happened to her. Very strange. I wonder if they've been able to talk to the boyfriend or not. This boyfriend that she moved from Tacoma to Marysville for. Uh, who is that boyfriend, and has he been talked to by authorities? Yeah, I bet it was a shock to her mom. Yeah, we followed that story very early on when it was reported, and the ID of her only came out in the last few hours. It's only been I see updates only in the last 12 to 18 hours. So it's fairly new. Very sad though, not the ending that I think any of us wanted. But they still can't find anything physically wrong with her, even after her autopsy, which is pretty awful. So maybe they think it's a drug overdose or something like that. But they're still saying they're treating it as a potential murder. So maybe they think someone dosed her up or something like that. Kelly said, I'm glad they got in contact with her family. If she had those issues, it's a call you wait for and assume you will get. It's very sad. Very sad. No, she didn't put herself in a garbage bin. That's true. Winter still said, I don't think she was a sex worker, though. Anyone who has addiction issues and is living on the street, um, not that they're all sex workers, but sometimes they need to be able to get their drugs or whatever. And one of the ways that females and males, but a lot of females can do that is by doing sex work. And it sort of goes hand in hand sometimes with addiction and living on the street. Not saying that she was, just saying that it's not a hard bridge to jump to. I don't think it's a very hard bridge to climb to get to that point. Danny said drugs are expensive, exactly. And if she was using daily or whatever, it's a lot of money. And about one of the only ways you can get fast cash is sex work. Kelly said they might do stuff, yeah, not in a traditional daily way, but once in a while for a fix not unheard of. Yeah. I would just say that it's a possibility. She might have met up with a client. She might have only done it a few times before, and she might have met up with some client, and who knows what happened. I mean, you just don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. I'd like to know if they've spoken to this boyfriend. He would be the prime suspect right now. You'd have to be, because he's her only contact in Marysville. So I would think you would have to be talking to him and finding out what was he doing on the night that she was found. So I hope the authorities are having a look at that. Woman of Steel said, it is so sad. I agree. Not the stories I enjoy doing. I don't like doing stories where women are found in rubbish bins in Marysville, Washington. Not the fun stories at all. All right. What are we doing? What are we doing? Let me check something. All right. Danny said, I wonder if she OD'd or just someone disposed of her. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Maybe there was no murder, but they wrongfully disposed of a human, maybe. Like, that's a possibility too. Like, she died at a homeless camp. They didn't want the police around the homeless camp, so they put her in a bin and took her far away from where everyone else was, like, located. I could see that being something that happened. Yeah, I'm just going to close a few tabs. We have about 80 tabs open from tonight. And I wonder sometimes if that is what messes with our camera. All right. That's better. All right. Where's I've lost my thing. There we go. Kelly said, my best friend accidentally OD'd in a bathroom at a laundromat at 35 years old. They charged a drug dealer who sold her bad stuff. I wish they would do that more. I wish they would charge people more often with crimes like that. What a horrible ending. It took a while for them to figure out who she was. Like, we were talking about this story like over a week ago. And I was checking on it for a while and there's no update. So the fact that this update's coming now is interesting. No, that's not what we want. Huh, I saw another thing. Who's that? I saw another missing person. I'm not sure. There was a photo of an elderly woman and they said that they found a missing woman. Ah, okay. Elizabeth Armstrong. Apparently her mum has posted on Facebook. Elizabeth Armstrong. Let me see if I can find her mum. Yeah, so her mum is on Facebook. There's her mum's page. Lakewood, Washington. So her mum lives in Lakewood. And this is her mum. Please pray my daughter was found dead in a garbage can in Marysville. Interesting. No photos of her mum, like, at all. Which is a bit strange. Is this? I don't know what that is. Can we pause that? I don't know what that is. But do you think that kind of looks like the mom? Kind of looks like the daughter, right? I wonder if that's like, she sort of looks like her daughter. I wonder if that is a video of mom. She just says that, please pray for my daughter. That was May 2nd. So she knew a couple of days ago. That's interesting because the news and the media only came out in the last day. It seems like she knew a while ago. A lot of people saying that the guy who found her, Bob, is actually ex-law enforcement or ex-military. So a lot of people on the mum's Facebook page just, condolences and things like that. So the mum says she's 40, and then she said it was the streets from Marysville to Everett. Just trying to see, like, if the mum posted anything else. She's been replying to people, but she's not very coherent in her replies to people. It's very hard to make out what she's talking about. Hmm. What did she say? Did she live here in Marysville? It was no, the streets from Marysville to Everett. Is Everett nearby? Everett, Washington. How far away is that? Oh, I think it's only downtown. I think it's Marysville. Okay, in Washington to Marysville. It's only like 5 miles away. So the mom's saying she was in between Marysville and Everett, and apparently it's only 5 to 7 miles away via the I-5 North. Transportation is available on Community Transit Line 202, offering a direct 12 to 20-minute trips between downtown areas. So they're just separate downtown areas. Okay. So apparently mom's saying she lived in Everett and Marysville. Whatever that means. Maybe she moved between the both of them or something. South of you. Okay. From Everett, that's what she said. Like the comment says, the lady above says, did she live here in Marysville? And then the mum says, it was no, the streets from Marysville to Everett. I don't exactly know what that means, but that was her reply. I think she means maybe she lived between the both of them. This is her exact reply. It was no, it was now the streets from Marysville to, I don't know. It was not the streets from Marysville to Everett. I'm not sure. That's what she wrote. I don't know. She's a little incoherent in her replies to people. Who is Jason? Oh, he works at Kiro 7. Jason Sloss tried to contact her. He works for Kiro 7. So the local news reporters have been trying to get in contact with her to talk about her daughter. Warner still said Everett is just south of Marysville. Yeah, 5 to 7 miles, they said. On the streets from either place. Is that what you took it on? It was on the streets from Marysville to Everett. Okay. Yeah. Good work, Danny. Good work, Danny. So Danny got it. On the streets from, yeah, and Gayla got it too. So basically saying she was just on the streets between Marysville and Everett. A very sad ending to her life. Khaleesi said it makes sense if she was on the streets, she would be moving around. It's not like she had an address. How did she end up in Marysville in a bin? The person who took her on the bin would have to have moved her from somewhere, right? Is there? I wonder if there's a homeless encampment nearby where she was found. Is there like an area where homeless people sleep in tents or something like that, not far from where she was dumped in the bin? Because they had to move her. They can't move. They can't do that for 10 miles, right? They can't do that. So yeah. Hey Kevin, Vance for president. I'm glad you make your choices clear. I hope that works out for you. Yeah. So, all right, guys. I think that's it for the night. We're pretty late now. I don't know what time it is over there. What time is it? West Pacific Coast time now. It's probably like only like 11 or something. It's 11:34 p.m. You guys are early. If you're on the West Coast, it's early. You guys shouldn't be in bed yet. It's early. Kelly said there's so many homeless people here in Arizona. All our Arizona friends disappeared. I don't know. We had like 10 of them in the chat last year. I don't know where all our Arizona people went. Let's see. 11:34, 2:34 a.m. on the East Coast, 7:35 in the morning. Marilyn said 2:34 a.m. in Ohio. I wish more people were like you guys and stayed up late. I'm not sure what happened to the wussies that used to come here every night. It's like they used to be hardcore like you guys, and now they're just no longer hardcore. I don't know how to explain it to you guys. I think they must have got old and decided that they needed to get to bed at 9 p.m. Sweet Universe said 1:35 a.m. at my house. Jules says I'm a night owl. Me too. I'm always up late at night. Maybe I should come on late at night and hang out with you guys, and we can do it the reverse of it. So it'll be late for me, early for you. They got jobs. Do you reckon they didn't have jobs and all of a sudden they got jobs? Maybe. Marlene said hardcore. Yeah, you guys are hardcore staying up till 2 a.m. Staying up till 2 a.m. to watch Ping. I don't know, guys. When we tried to move the shows back to the early time, so many people bitched and moaned that the late show wouldn't continue. So we kept the late show, and then half of the people didn't show up anymore. And it's like, but you're the ones who asked for it. So I'm very confused why people were so adamant in wanting the late show and then stopped turning up to it. So it's very confusing for Ping. I try to do what my viewers want. They were so adamant, and we did a vote and we did a poll, and everyone wanted the late at night show. And then they were just like, yeah, I'm going to not come to that anymore. Bizarre. You really mess with the creator's mind when you do stuff like that. Sweet Universe said, did they get a job where they have to get up early? Like 50 of them? I don't know. Maybe there was a mass hiring of people in true crime. You go to bed at 5 a.m. How do you sleep? What time do you get up in the morning? Marilyn says, I'm retired, will be 73. Marilyn's lying to you. She's actually 23. Kelly said, people suck and just like to complain. Danny said, we need to recruit new people from Arizona. We had quite a few. I don't know what happened to our Arizona people. We had a whole bunch of them at one point, and then they all disappeared. Kelly J is from Arizona. Yeah, we had more though. Danny will tell you. At one point, we had like 10, 15 people that were solely from Arizona. I don't know why we had so many, but at one point we had a ton of people. Gail said Arizona people were kidnapped, obviously. Yeah, Sienna. Where is Sienna? I don't know what happened to Sienna. Carlisa said, I'm not working now, but always work nights, so a night owl forever, I guess. I don't know what happened to Sienna, Danny. No idea. Marilyn said, I've been to Arizona a few times. Yeah, it's fun. It was the Nancy thing. The Nancy thing. The Nancy, the missing woman? I don't understand. What did I do to it? How did I affect people with the Nancy thing? Was it the Nancy thing? I don't know. Maybe. But they haven't found that one either. They haven't figured that out. It's what is it, week 15 or something? And we still are not any closer to finding out who the creepy person in the mask is, which is awfully concerning when you think about it. So in Arizona, a famous person's mother was abducted by a creepy dude in a friggin' balaclava. And everyone's just like, yeah, that's fine. Like, there's no body. No one's found anything. There's no evidence. They haven't found anyone they want to arrest. And everyone's just like, yeah, all right, let's get back to work. Let's leave Arizona. It's weird. I find that so strange that there's no evidence of anything. They haven't found anybody's body. It's strange. Yeah, it's really odd. Jules says I get up between 11 and 2. Ah, you have a great sleep schedule. Woman still said, did Nancy and Time Change show everyone off? Maybe. Danny says Nanos is a dumbass. I think that's becoming pretty clear that he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He has botched this investigation into Nancy Guthrie. I'm sorry, there is no other way to look at it. You've had 3 months to try and track this down, and you haven't done anything. I'm sorry, but there there was a case in Australia at the same time where a elderly man was abducted from his house in the middle of the night in the case of a mistaken identity, and they tracked it down and arrested everyone in a week. A week. And they didn't have any CCTV and cameras and that. They had one blurry thing of him being abducted across the road, and they tracked him down, and now everyone's in jail. They just arrested 2 other people last week. Yet in Arizona, one of the largest states in America, with one of the largest police forces in America, even though it's a tiny town where this one's from, they're just like, "Oh, we don't know where she went. She disappeared into thin air." Like, it's bizarre to me that that's the attitude of authorities. That they're just like, "Oh, we'll find her when something starts to, when someone smells something, they'll call us and we'll find her body." That's almost the way they're doing. Like, that's the way they're treating it. Warner still said they're gonna need a lot of that chemical to find NG. Nanos blew it. Yep. Kelly said there were 2 more people involved in that kidnapping of the wrong man. I think now they've arrested, like, 6 people now of, Chris Bagzarian. I think it's 6 people they've got in custody now. Danny said they should have called the FBI immediately. Yep, I agree. It's just ridiculous. Like, how you see the disparity, and Australia is we're a tiny country compared to America, and yet somehow our police force was able to do the exact same thing that Arizona is trying to do in a week. Arizona's had 3 months to try and figure this out, and they're just walking around scratching their head going, "I don't know, she just disappeared. Where did she go? Not sure. Do you have any clues? Nope. Do you have any suspects? Nah. Where do you think she went? Don't know." Like, they just seem so far out of their league right now, and it's really sad to see. Like, where's the pride? Where's the pride in your work, and the pride in, we solve crimes, we protect our constituents, we do things the right way. Like, where's the pride? If you were really prideful in your job, you would have already had this done. It's really a horrible look. Kelly said it's not a good look for the sheriff. Not at all. Khaliza said, and Nanos is in charge, so the FBI hands are tied. It should go straight to the FBI. Let them deal with it. Stop hogging the case file. Just send it to the FBI. Just get out of it now. You've screwed it up for 3 months. Just give it to the FBI. Just let them do it. You're not going to be showed up. You're not going to, make you look. It's not going to make you look any worse. Let me put it that way. You'll look actually more competent by handing it over to the FBI, then hogging the case, hoping that your guys will solve it and that you'll get all the credit. Because that's how it feels right now. It feels like they are just hogging it so that when they eventually maybe solve it, they can go, "We did it all." We're 5.5 years later, but we finally cracked who took Nancy Guthrie. It is now 2032. But we finally did it, ladies and gentlemen. We brought her back to her family. Like, I feel like that's what's going to happen. It's going to be like 2032 by the time we find out. Khaliza said, well, if the FBI finds her, he thinks it will make him look bad. That's a very egotistical way to think about things. Shouldn't it be victim first? Kudos and claps second? You should just find the girl, like the woman. Find the grandma, find the mum, find Nancy Guthrie. Then you can talk about who gets the credit. Just do your job. Danny said this won't happen when Vance is president, right? Right, Kevin? Yeah. Where's Sebastian? That's another one. Tennessee's got a horrible back history for missing children. If you go back into the history of Tennessee and look at like all the missing kids out there, if they never find him, I wouldn't be surprised because they've got hundreds of children who have gone missing in Tennessee that have never been found. And it's like no one cares. It's crazy out there. Jules said Nana thought she wandered off and would show up. All those cops' cars are a mess. Yeah. Marlene said the sheriff has bad blood with the FBI. He's going to have bad blood with the freaking population of America if he's not careful, because the people expect results, and you ain't giving them to them. The family wants results, and you're not giving it to them. So 3 months is a joke. Like let's get that straight. 3 months without finding anything at all is a joke. You know, this is a kidnap victim. It's not a game. You're just like, oh, we just assume she's dead. We got all the time in the world. Who cares? She's already gone. There's no way she's alive. What if she is somehow? And you have this attitude of who cares? You know, she's out there somewhere being held captive, and you're all just like, yeah, we've given up because we think she's dead. Woman is still said, where is Summer Wells? Again, Tennessee. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the press conference they did like a year ago, where they're trying to tell everyone that, oh, we work so hard on Summer Wells. We work hard every day trying to find her. Do you remember that press conference that TVI did? Yeah, I'll show it to you. It was the most weirdest press conference. Summer Wells TVI press. It's like one of the weirdest briefings I think I've ever seen for a missing child, but so many people want to find that kid. It might have been a couple of years ago now.
We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those two. We think that the only way we'll be successful in finding Summer is to continue to walk down both of those investigative paths to ensure that we don't become focused on one area alone and miss something that's crucially important. I would say this case has not gone cold. A cold case is typically framed up as a case where there are no tips or leads that are coming in and there are no investigative efforts that are happening because there is no place to travel with the investigation. I would say in this case, thanks to the public, we've continued to have tips and leads that have come in that agents have been able to follow up on continuously. And the agents have worked tirelessly when tips and leads weren't coming in to try to find ways to investigate when typically people would lay down their effort. It has been a great partnership between the community and law enforcement to not let this case sit and go sterile. We continue to focus on ground search efforts. We continue to focus on interviews of those who may have information about vehicles that have traveled through the area or technology that could have been used that may give us an investigative lead. All stones are being turned over. There's not one thing that's being done. We've been extremely creative as we've investigated this case and continue to try to find ways to turn over rocks that we didn't even know that were there to turn over. Children are our top priority at TBI.
I'm sorry. That was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen anyone say. I've now had to reorder in my mind of all the funniest things I think I've ever heard in my life because of what he just said. Children are a priority for the TBI. Bro, go on the comedy tour because that was the funniest thing I think I've ever heard the TBI say in my life. Like I said, I have to now reorder all the funny things I've heard in my life, you know, all the comedy I've listened to, and because that really was a joke. The TBI prioritize children, do they? Because you have one of the longest lists in the country for missing children. Aha! To come on this interview and then be like, we prioritize children, really? Sort out your list of missing children. You have one of the largest ones in American history, and you act like you're above it all. I don't effing think so. It is a joke how many children are missing in Tennessee. There is so many, and they just like they date back through the decades. There's like hundreds of them. It's got the Tennessee has a problem with missing children and unaccounted for children. You got look, Sebastian, Summer Wells, two very famous ones, but there's so many that you guys have never heard of. If you go to TBI, there's just so many, and it's so sad. Like, where are all these children? Oh my god, they've restricted their page to. Why are all these websites doing this? We may have to start running a VPN. They've restricted the page to American only. That is very annoying. Yeah, I can't access it, unfortunately. We're gonna have to maybe get a VPN or something. You can go here and check it out for yourself. There is just a list, and there's just so many kids. You go, where are they all? Where are all these children? Why has Tennessee not devoted anything to finding any of them? It's crazy to me. Jill said Summer is probably in the woods, got lost, crawled somewhere in the thorny wild vines. If you believe Grandpa saying the dogs never barked. I don't know. I don't know what to believe with Summer. There's so much uncertainty around the entire thing. There's so many people who don't add up. There's so many bits of the story that don't make sense. It's very hard to find out, especially as a public person, who had the motivation to hurt her and why. And that's sort of the gap in knowledge of like who would want to do that to her. And you could look at the parents, you could say due to neglect, something happened that afternoon, and then they covered up her death. That is one theory I've seen that is quite popular, that something happened after they got home and she died. And yeah, like Danny said, an accident, and they just covered up the death of her. Yeah, that is one that is quite popular. I've seen that one touted quite frequently. This whole thing about like the church is involved and they've got like a PDF file ring and they operate in that area. No, go away. Like, bring me more proof of that. Bring me more proof that that's a real thing, not just local hearsay. Kelly said that's a theory I think personally. I like that theory too. It makes sense due to the parenting style that you see within that family, and based on the probabilities of what could have happened in that time frame, it's pretty good. A pretty good theory that she could have died somehow, and then they just freaked out and got rid of her. I mean, that based on the probabilities of someone came and kidnapped her off a remote property with one road in and one road out. Someone crept through the bushland and abducted her. Someone brought in a Chinook helicopter and whisked her away. Like, it's a pretty good one. They lost 6 kids. Yeah. Marlene said the parents never asked or begged for her return, but said she was taken by someone. Yeah, they basically didn't do anything. And they're just like, oh, yeah, we're looking for her. Parents said kidnapped, right? Yeah, that was their automatic feeling. Like, that's their automatic story, was that someone must have taken her. I remember someone drove up to their property one time and showed like how their property is located. It's like this quiet road in Tennessee. you would know if there was a car there. I know they had a really long driveway, but you would still know if there was any vehicles around. And there's literally one road. It just drives past their property, and like that's it. I don't think there's like random PDF files hanging out on the road. Kelly said Summer's dad is so gross. He was on a phone call, admitted to doing things to his sister. I remember that. I don't remember it was disgusting the way he was justifying it. Yeah, he basically said he sexually assaulted her. I remember that. That was on one of the true crime channels. Khaleesa said that makes sense, except I don't know if her parents are smart enough to keep the story up this long. Well, that's true. Kelly said, after I heard that phone call of Don Wells, I was grossed out. It's pretty gross. Oh, they lost 9 in total? Okay. Khaleesa said, yeah, kidnapping is far-fetched due to the area. Yeah, it's really remote. It's not, I mean, it's not really remote, but it's remote enough into the hills that having someone out there that day, it's not likely. Marlene said 15 dogs that day around the house. And if they're not going bonkers when a car pulls into the property or near it, I'd be worried because what does someone have like a silent dog gun that some sort of black ops weapon that they can silence all the dogs and kidnap your child? Don't think so. Gayla said maybe they start to believe it themselves. Possibly. They could. Kelly said it's an odd spot for a kidnapping. Yeah, it's really bizarre. Hold on, I'll find it. Yes, it is 110 Ben Hill Road, if I remember correctly. Come on, give me the map. There we go. All right. There's Ben Hill Road, and there's 110. So there's not much out here, guys. There's like a little tiny track that does run through the back here, limestone branch that does run through the back of the property. This is one that everyone was getting freaked out about, but I don't think it goes anywhere, does it? I think it just goes through the back here. But yeah, there's really only sort of like there's this Beach Road, Beach Creek Road. This is sort of the main road, and then there's Ben Hill, which goes through their property here. And if we zoom out, you can sort of see the area. It's really not that populated, guys. Like when you look at it, there's not that many, but I mean there is a lot of bushland. Like someone could get lost out here. That's not a joke. Someone could. You see how dense the woods are out here. I mean, that is a viable possibility. Like look, the woods are very dense. So, I mean, I don't know. Use your own brains and try to come up with what could happen here. I mean, I think there's just a lot of unlikely in some of the things we've heard. So yeah, and then you can see there's the school bus that everyone's talked about before. There's the road that goes up onto their property. That's that long driveway. So someone, if you believe what they say, someone would have had to have crept up this driveway. It's a long driveway too, and somehow got here where you have the properties here, and there's like another thing over here too. Someone would have had to approach this property, right? And none of the animals would have gone mental. None of the adults would have seen it. And then someone would have to come here and abduct her somehow, and then get down this driveway again and get out of the area. It's really unlikely. It's you know, even her disappearing into the woodlands is more likely than that theory, at least in my opinion, because you do have all this bushland surrounding the property, and she could get lost. She's only a kid. I mean, that is a possibility. Yeah. So you guys tell me. You think a kidnapper could make it up that driveway somehow? Marlene said they think an animal took her, but no signs of a struggle or blood. I mean, bobcat or cougar could take someone, a child. Danny said the FBI was out immediately, and they've never been that interested in it. Kelly said it's unlikely she made it off that property alive. I think you guys are right. Kaliza said yes, and we have found hikers who have had many searches for them, and then their bodies are found nearby where searchers have looked many times. That is true. Gayla said there was a gate over the drive that was padlocked. Yeah, I don't know how you get on the property. That's the problem. Woman of Steel said now it's just the two of them looking at each other through drunk eyes. Drunk's not the word I would use. Jill says uncut hardwoods, the vines, probably some elevation changes, easy for a 5-year-old to disappear. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that theory. I don't mind that theory that somehow she got into the bushland here. Like, you look at it, I doubt there's people that have searched all of this. Look at it. She could have got anywhere. Even if she got into this part here, you're screwed. Like, this part is just really, really dense. You may not find someone here for 100 years because there's not people searching here every day. I mean, I would not be surprised. That is a valid theory as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying it's most likely, just it is a valid theory. I heard they weren't still together. Are they back together now? I heard they separated at one point. I don't know if they still are. I haven't checked into it in a while, but I heard they were separated at one point. Khaliza said there are old mines and places where a kid could easily fall, and the woods are very dense. You might walk right by and never see a body. Yeah, I don't mind that theory. It's not bad. Kelly said either way, mum's fault, not paying attention, neglect, or foul play. I agree with you. I agree that there was some level of neglect. Warner Steele said she was scared of going alone. She wouldn't have done it. True. We did hear that she was a bit of a mummy's girl and she liked to be at home. Khalees said hikers' bodies are found years later where people have searched. Yeah, it has happened. You thought they were. I mean, I haven't checked into it in a while, but I thought they were separated at one point. Gayla said, now I'm imagining her walking out the woods as a grown woman. What, like female Tarzan? And she walks out and she goes, these are my wolf family who raised me in the Tennessee wilderness for the last 18 years of my life. And then, like, a wolf pack has taken her in and has, like, raised her where her family couldn't. Is that what you're saying? You're saying a wild pack of animals have taken her in and now she just lives in the wilderness? I don't know. How many drugs have you had tonight? Khaleesa said, we heard a lot of things from the mum. In my opinion, she's an unreliable narrator. I agree with you. I don't think you can take much of what they say. Danny said, better wolves than these crackheads. Yeah, I agree with you that the wolves might do a better job. Kelly said, anyone know how old the other kids are now? Or know how the other kids are now? I don't know. I know at one point they were really into getting onto true crime channels and sort of bitching for hours, but I think over the last couple of years they've sort of calmed down and they're not doing that as much anymore. So I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of updates from them anymore. They're liars. Definitely think they're not telling the truth about a lot of things that happened that day. I think so. So yeah, there you go. If you ever wonder where Summer Wells went missing from, it's right there. What's the closest town to them? Like, what's the closest big city? It'd be this one, Kingsport. It'd be Kingsport. It'd be up there. They always when they talk about Summer Wells, they always say she went missing from Kingsport, Tennessee, but it's not really Kingsport, is it? Isn't it? Wait, isn't that the town that Maggie was convicted in, Kingsport? It was, right? That's where they had her trial. Megan Boswell. That's where they had her trial, at Kingsport. So that's interesting that another woman who was charged with killing her own child went to trial not too far away from where Summer Wells went missing from. So yeah. No wolves in Tennessee? There could be, you don't know. Danny said, I think Sebastian is a bigger mystery. I'm of the theory that the people closest to Sebastian know more than they are letting on. That's all I'll say about that. Warner still said the oldest should be an adult soon. Hopefully they'll tell. Yeah, right. Maggie Boswell was convicted in Kingsport, Tennessee. That was a crazy trial. That trial broke my heart. To see those photos of her daughter in that trash can. I've seen a lot of sad things in true crime, but that might have been the saddest thing I've ever seen. The fact that she was such a doting mum early on, and she was. I won't take that away from Megan Boswell. She, in her early years with her daughter, she really was quite attentive and had done quite a lot for her daughter and was very proud of her child. What went wrong after that, I don't really know, but the fact that she would kill the child and then stuff her into a bin with all sorts of junk and alfoil, and it's one of the saddest stories I think I've ever read in true crime. There's loads of them, Sebastian? I don't know. Kelly said the Sebastian case got so messy and crazy on YouTube. Yeah, it's why I refuse to do it anymore because of the crazy people. Marilyn said, I think their boys were 9, 11, and 12. They'd be getting pretty old now. Jules said, we had a 3-year-old go missing overnight. They found him the next morning. He said a bear was with him and kept him warm. What? A bear? A bear kept him warm. How kind. What a nice bear. I reckon the bear probably knew he wasn't a threat. Marlene said parenting classes in elementary school and high school is just a messed up state education is last on its list along with children. There you go. Cool story, bro. Yeah, the bear kept you warm. I'm so interested in this bear and why it was so friendly towards a child and didn't just eat you and take you to its cubs. They didn't believe him. Yeah, I don't believe him either. Sounds like he's been watching too much like Winnie the Pooh or something. Hey, Snapcrackle, how are you? How sweet. Yeah, did Megan Boswell get sentenced? Megan. She did, right? She'll be like 70 when she gets out or something. Found guilty of first-degree murder and 18 other charges, including a lot of them were neglect and abuse charges towards her child. She got... What'd she get, like 50-something years? First-degree murder... Life in prison, plus an additional 33 years for the murder of her 15-year-old daughter, Evelyn Mae Boswell. She ain't never getting out. She will probably never get out, ever. She's never going to get out of that prison. The thing is, when you hear the lies that not only she told, that her mum told as well. I know her mum tried to rectify the wrongs by testifying at her daughter's trial, but she tried to take a lot of the blame off her own daughter by saying that it was her poor parenting that made Megan the way that she was. But you can't excuse your own child from neglect, abuse, and killing her own child. It doesn't work that way. You might be a small part of why she did what she did, but you are not the sole reason that she did what she did. There's her mugshot, by the way. I've never seen that photo before. That is her. This young lady will spend the rest of her life in prison, in a Tennessee prison. You know, for the judge to sentence her to 33 years on top of the normal sentence, it just shows you how severe her offending was. To give her another 33 on top, like, and it was heartbreaking. The case was so hard to watch. I had to watch it in bits and then turn it off and go do something else because it was so disturbing. Like when they did the photographs of going through the shed where they found Evelyn May, it's almost psychological torture. I feel for that jury. That jury did such a great job, and I feel for them. I hope they get a lot of counseling because that trial was brutal, absolutely brutal. And then you hear the cops where they say when they went into her trailer, they couldn't find anything that represented a child, like a child had lived there. There was no sort of like nappies and, powder and who knows, like baby food or something or snacks for the child. There was like nothing. There was like nothing, no clean clothes and no clean diapers or whatever. Like there was nothing. She had treated Evelyn as if she was worthless. And yeah, she just basically didn't want her anymore. She wanted to go live her life and not have Evelyn there. Which brings up the question, when she got pregnant and she was very young and she was living in foster care at the time when she was pregnant, why didn't she just put the baby up for adoption? Someone would have loved to have Evelyn. Someone would have, loved that child for the rest of her life and could have had a very beautiful daughter. Megan could have gone off and lived her life the way she wanted and not had Evelyn tagging along. Both of them would have won. She didn't really want a baby. She was way too young, and Evelyn would have got a better parent. It would have been a really good decision. Somewhere along the line, this all got confused, and she wanted to keep the child and raise it. And then about halfway through, about a year after the baby was alive, she's just like, "Oh, I don't want to do it anymore. I regret my decision." It was very, very strange. Woman is still sick. Can you imagine if Megan's dad had found her? He would have dropped dead of a heart attack. I'm very lucky that Tommy did not find Evelyn. I think he would have literally died. He loved that little girl. I think he would have had a heart attack. Yeah, she was a beautiful little girl. Someone wanted to, yeah, she wanted someone to love her. Well, the child, to give love to the child, you have to do that. Not going to just give you love and take care of you. You'll now have to take care of the child. And in return, eventually, you'll get unconditional love for it. But it takes years. It's not an overnight thing. Parents will tell you that it's a lifelong venture, that it doesn't happen overnight. And that unconditional love is not always forthcoming. It sometimes looks very different to love, but something that I guess she just never understood, that it would literally take her entire life to raise that child. Very, very awful case. If you've never watched a trial, it's a good one, but it's very hard to watch. It's got a lot of really awful details in it. Gail said, then she realized she got in the way of other relationships, so she stopped caring. Yeah, I wonder if things had continued with the original, with Evelyn's father, the guy in the military, Ethan. I wonder if they had stayed a couple, even with him being in the military, whether Evelyn would be alive today. Do you guys think that if that relationship continued, that she wouldn't have done what she did? I wonder, because I think a lot of her offending stemmed from the fact that Ethan basically used her as basically the boy way of saying this would be to use her for pussy, really, and would come home, smash her a few times, and go back to military. Like, he even said in his testimony, he's like, "Oh, I didn't want to be with her." And he's like, "I used to come home, see Evelyn, smash her a couple of times, Megan, and then I'd head back to military." Like, I don't know. I think she was so crushed. I think she thought her and Ethan were going to be this like family. And when he sort of rejected that idea, I think everything went downhill from there. Marlene said she did not know who the father. He didn't end up being the father, right? Yeah, I know, but I just wonder if that idea of Ethan being the father would that have made her more committed to raising Evelyn or not? When that relationship broke up and he basically used her for sex, I just wonder. I think you can. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to watch the body cam ever again. Kelly said, "Oh my God, Ping, I almost choked on my Pop Tart." Hey, this is the After Dark show now. We're after midnight. We're all right. There ain't no kids watching. We can talk in adult terms. Sometimes Ping lets one slip, Sometimes Ping says naughty words. But I couldn't think of a more descriptive word to show you the devaluation of their relationship. Like, that's literally it. That is the word. Because that's how he treated her. He basically treated her like that. Danny said, "I don't watch anything about kid victims." I don't do a lot on kid victims, but this case was so big when I first came back into true crime that I sort of stuck with it. Gail said, "Trisha swore a few times tonight. See, it rubs off from Ping. See, it's starting to, it's starting to rub off. She's starting to catch the Ping disease of swearing too much." But yeah, if you've never watched it or read through the case for Megan Boswell, it is a really interesting psychological study on female. Is it filicide? Filicide, where they kill their children. It's a really interesting study on that, and what the different turning points in her life could have been, where we may have got a different outcome for it. It really is interesting. Kelly said, "Yeah, sad but true. I don't often watch kid victims either, unless they are bizarre or a mystery type one." Yeah, I don't watch a lot of children ones either, and we don't do a lot of them on this channel, and it's just because they're just too sad. They're just they're just too sad. I can't do them all the time. They are just heartbreaking to do too often. If you do them every day, I think it'd drive you crazy in true crime. I think it would just destroy your soul eventually. Kelly said, "Anyone else eat Pop Tarts with warm butter?" I don't think I've ever tried it with warm butter. RX Girl said, "That's the one I was going to go to, but it was over by the time I was off." The Megan Boswell one. It would have been a good one to go to. I think it was an interesting trial. Very, do we have the sentencing? Yeah, here, I'm going to take you to the sentencing. Watch her face when she gets sentenced.
Sullivan County woman has been sentenced today for her non-murder charges related to the death of her 1-year-old daughter. Megan Boswell appeared before a judge today who sentenced her to an additional 33 years behind bars. That sentence will run consecutively to the life sentence a jury delivered back in February after they found her guilty of murdering her daughter, Evelyn. Boswell will serve her sentence at a rehabilitation center in Nashville. The case gained.
She just it never looks like she takes it very seriously, right? Even with her jaunting around the courtroom as if it's all a big joke. I don't know what a rehabilitation center is. Why would they be sending her to a real rehabilitation center if she's never getting out? She got 33 years on top of a life sentence. So she could be 73 by the time she gets out of prison. If she gets out on her first attempt at parole, she'd be something like 73 years old, something like that. And she'd be a very old woman. I don't know if I've ever tried butter on a Pop-Tart. You know, I don't think I've bought any Pop-Tarts in a long time. I just don't think we don't get very good ones here. We only get like chocolate, strawberry, blueberry without icing, and s'mores. I think we get the s'mores. Marlene said, I think she has some mental development issues. Possibly. I think you're right. I would agree with that. Marilyn said, I'm almost 73. You also didn't kill your child and didn't spend 50 years in jail. So you're doing all right. Sweet Universe said, I don't know why she had to kill her baby. I think there's multiple reasons you could look at for her. I think mostly it had to do with it stopped being her main focus. For a period of time when her and Ethan were friendly, so Ethan was like one of her boyfriends for a period of time. When Ethan was interested in her for sort of, actually at trial, he basically said he didn't care about her. I think she cared more about him than he cared about her. The only reason he had any investment in Megan at all is because he thought the child was his. But anyway, I think the direction you look at is because when that relationship broke down, Evelyn stopped being a priority for Megan. And she's like, I want to go do other things and look in other directions, like for a partner. And I think she knew trying to find a young boyfriend that is okay with having a baby around is very hard. Very hard. How many 19, 20-year-old boys want a girlfriend with a under 2-year-old child? Very, very few. Very few want that. Most of them just want some fun. Most of them, if they do want to settle down, want a girl who hasn't had children yet. They want to have their own children with her. They don't want a girl who's already had babies already, which is a weird way to look at it, but they're young enough where that's a thing. When you get a little older, there's concessions that can be made and you get blended families and stuff like that, but not at that age. That age, you got your pick of the litter. Why would you take a girl who's already got a baby? You wouldn't. So, yeah, 0. Iris Girl said, I just can't watch things about autistic kids, especially boys. All I see is my son. You take good care of that boy. All right, RX Girl, you take good care of him. You take good care of that kid. Gayla said they will see the kid and think, okay, I can hit that and move on. Yeah. And I think that sort of happened to her a couple of times. Kaliza said, I think she was desperate for love. Yeah. I think she became attached too quickly in these relationships And it scared a lot of the guys away too, because she was so desperate to be like, we're a family. We're we're daddy and mummy and stuff. And she was just so quick into it. And I think it spooked a lot of the guys because they're just like, we went on one. Wasn't there a guy at the trial where they went on like one date together and she was already messaging him saying stuff like, let's take Christmas photos together with Evelyn and stuff like that. Like it really scared the hell out of him. And he's like, why is this girl messaging me about like, long-term relationship type issues when we only went on one date? So she would often rush into these type of relationships. Marlene said, yes, we now see how blended families work with that 18-year-old girl on the cruise. Yeah. Gayla said that's why she kept her. Well, yes. Cleese said, anyone who makes that decision becomes a monster. She is a monster. 100% right. Kelly said, like Jen freaking Soto, Maddie's mom, she was desperate and needy too, and obviously neglectful. She doesn't make a lot of sense to me, though. She wasn't, though. It was weird. It's not like Stefan was tapping her. There was no sex life. They talked about it. They weren't really having sex anymore. So what was it? It's not like, he was too busy having sex with Maddie. So, like, what was Mum doing? What was Jen doing exactly? Jen got a nightstand full of dildos or something? Like, what's going on? Like, apparently their sex life was basically minimal. I'm sure back when they first started dating, it was probably different, but not near the end of the offending. I think like they basically didn't do anything. It was very odd, very strange. I don't really get that one. Gayla said, did you see the emails about the people already disembarking that ship a few weeks ago? Oh, yes. Actually, let's talk about that. Let's get off the subject of dead babies. We've done a really long show tonight, almost 3 hours. It's been my pleasure. It really has. I like doing these long shows with you guys. It's a lot of fun. And I didn't really have a lot to do today on this Saturday. Mrs. Ping is just here hanging out, relaxing. So it was fun to do a long show tonight. Yes, the cruise ship illness, Hantavirus, it is going into overdrive here. It is bad, real bad. Apparently, America is starting to make preparations for people coming back, and they're going into isolation in Nebraska. So in Nebraska, they have a facility which is for infectious diseases. They used it during COVID. Well, now they're going to use these people that come from the cruise ship and put them there for a period of time. It is very scary because people keep popping up. There was a guy in Europe that went home and then a little bit later tested positive for hantavirus. So people that seems like they're okay, not okay, and it's getting a little wild. Yeah, I want to take you out to 9 News.
It started on a cruise ship in the Atlantic, but tonight the deadly hantavirus outbreak could impact up to 16 countries. Health authorities are conducting testing around the world, with reports an Australian disembarked the ship 2 weeks ago before returning home.
Contact tracing, isolating, and an infected cruise ship. No, it isn't COVID, and this isn't 2020. This is the Andes strain of hantavirus.
This one particular virus has been associated with some limited human-to-human transmission.
146 people are still on board, but 23 passengers disembarked on April 24, returning to their homes all over the globe. Tonight, reports an Australian was among that group. People linked to the virus now all over Europe. 3 passengers medically evacuated in the past few hours. 2 are now in hospital in the Netherlands. 2 others are self-isolating in the UK as a precaution. And there are people being monitored for potential infection in at least 3 US states. Another former passenger has tested positive in Switzerland.
This patient is isolated, and the wife actually has no symptoms, but she's self-isolating just as a precaution.
Officials believe the virus was brought on to the MV Hondius by a Dutch couple who have died. The working theory is that the husband and wife were infected on a birdwatching trip in Argentina, which included a visit to a landfill site where they may have been exposed to infected rodents. The ship departed South America on April 1. 36 days on, 3 people have died, and the virus has now spread to 2 other continents. MV Hondius now sailing to the Canary Islands, where passengers will undergo a health assessment before being repatriated. In London,
Yeah, it's bad, guys. And apparently there's quite a few people Americans and I think 1 or 2 Australians, but they're heading back to America over the weekend and they will be taken to, I think it's a university facility in Nebraska where they have a highly infectious disease. It looks like apartments or like a hotel room, and they are going to isolate there. And let's just hope this is not the beginning of COVID 2.0 now. Let's freaking hope not. How is anyone alive in New York City with all the rats? I know it's a strange thing to do. You're like, hey, come to South America, visit all the great tourist attractions. But you know what you can do? We can take you to a rubbish tip. We can take you to a garbage dump. Is that what you'd like to do? Fly halfway across the other side of the world, get on a cruise ship, travel for multiple weeks, and then we'll take you to a rubbish dump. Isn't that the best thing ever? We'll take you to a rubbish dump. That's like the funnest thing you could ever do on holidays. Bizarre. Bizarre. Kelly said Gene Hackman's wife died from hantavirus in their home. Yes. I wanted to put up RX Girl's thing. RX Girl said he's wearing me out. He's 18, but half his brain is 5. She's talking about her son. So we are having violent outbursts, but I could never hurt him. He is the love of my life. Good lady. He will be okay with your help. I know it's hard. Hopefully you get some sort of respite. Maybe there's a government program that can give you some respite so mum can have some time out as well. I'm sure there's services where maybe you could sign up or get some help. I hope there is where you live. And maybe get mum a weekend off every now and then. That would probably help a lot and give you some time out. Kaliza said, so the virus doesn't come from a rat or a mouse. No, it does. It comes from rodents, and it comes from their pee and saliva and poop. And if you get it on stuff and eat it or something, you can get infected. And then apparently, in very rare cases, it can spread human to human. And that is what happened here. Now, on the cruise ship, when the first person died, it was there was a husband and wife. They're the ones who went to the rubbish dump. The husband died. And apparently, the captain came down and told the ship that there was no infectious disease and that he died from health complications. Then the entire ship hugged the widow and were like, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry this happened on the cruise ship. And everyone came into contact with her. Well, a couple of days later, she died. So now you have direct contact with everyone on the ship and the 2 people who died. Then a third person died. It is not good. It is very bad. Hey, Lindy, how are you going, my friend? Only the Andes strain can be passed from human to human. Where have you been, my friend? Are you in the hospital? I hope you're not in the hospital. I hope you're safe at home tonight, my friend. Are you safe at home? I hope you are. Can you hear me through the screen? I hear her. She's nodding. She says, I'm at home. I am not in the hospital. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad we could telepathically do that. Gayla said it's the only strain that spreads human to human. See, I told you. See? See? Telepathic. Me and Lindy. We got the telepathy going on. Marlene said I would be living I have a large personal space. Sure. Yes, you would be living. Khaliza said, so it's a strain then. All hantavirus will mess you up. Only some of them can be passed between different people. That's the difference. Yeah, amazing. It's a great technology. Yeah, so brutal. So I hope everyone in America keeps an eye out. It's pretty crazy. I know that there are people coming in to America. I'm trying to find a video from America that you guys can watch about the hantavirus. Hold on. I'm surprised there's not one for Nebraska or something. Hold on. Yeah, here. Gonna take you to Fox 26. Is that one? Yep.
Talking about the hantavirus a lot, and now health officials in 6 states, they're monitoring people who may have been exposed to the virus. Now, this is all connected to a deadly outbreak of the rare disease, which started on a cruise ship last month. Today, the State Department is saying they're in direct contact with Americans still on board, and they're offering help when the ship arrives in Spain. Fox's Kaylee Schuyler joining us live from Boston. So, Kaylee, what's the latest with the 6th state added to the list?
Hi, Rashi. So health officials now in New Jersey are monitoring 2 people who may have been exposed to the hantavirus. They came in contact with someone who was infected after they left that cruise ship. And today, New Jersey's governor wrote in a statement that neither of those people are experiencing symptoms right now. And it was just earlier this week that we found out nearly 40 people from at least 12 countries got off the cruise ship a couple weeks ago after the first death on board. That passenger died on April 11th. Now, California, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, and Virginia are monitoring passengers who got off the ship. But to be clear, those 2 New Jersey residents were not on board. None of these people have tested positive for hantavirus, and right now, no one has symptoms, but the CDC says it's activated their lowest level of emergency response. Meanwhile, around 150 people, including 17 Americans, are still on the ship, which is heading to the Spanish Canary Islands. It's expected to arrive as early as tomorrow, but it's looking more like early Sunday. The U.S. is sending a plane to Spain to get the Americans back home, but there will be strict precautions as they get off the ship. Doctors will evaluate the passengers before they board vehicles that are both isolated and guarded. Then they'll go to a completely blocked off section of the airport.
Yeah, so the Canary Islands where they're actually getting off, they are so they're actually going to Tenerife. You know that island where that UK boy died after he fell off the side of a mountain basically, and they spent weeks trying to find him. That is Tenerife, and that is where the ship is going. The ship is going to Tenerife, and it is interesting what they're going to do. So that particular Spanish islands, they did not want to take the ship. They wanted to go. They wanted them to go to a different country. They're like, we don't want them. Go somewhere else. But they were reminded that under EU law, they have a requirement to take emergency situations, that they have a obligation to do it. What is it? Tenerife? No, I'm saying it my way, not Tenerife. Nope, Tenerife. I say it the Australian way, not the UK way. You uncouth individuals over in the UK. So they basically said, fine, we'll take them, but we're going to shut down half the airport. So they're going to like shut down half the airport. The infected people go one way only, and they are going to basically be like isolated throughout their whole trip through the island. They are in one van in one part of the airport onto like, planes or whatever. And the people who are doing it are going to be dressed in full hazmat. Like they're very serious that they do not want an outbreak on the island. So Kelly said, I saw the best meme the other day of how to sound Australian. I wish I could share. You just add an E to everything. Marlene said, them's fighting words, get Hades. Kelly said, the doctor treating them got sick. Yeah, it's a real mess. It's a real mess. I don't know whether isolating these people in different parts of the globe is going to be a great idea. Maybe it will be. Maybe it'll lower the sort of risk profile. I sort of think that they all should have been taken to one location and then quarantined for like 2 weeks. And then if you're not symptomatic, then you can go. I feel like maybe that would have been a better idea, but then you're infringing on people's rights. And then it's like, well, how do you manage that? They're not people of the country. I don't know. It's difficult. Yeah, British doctor. Kelly said, I don't think that's smart personally. I agree, ping one place. Maybe they should have all gone to the CDC level 5 place in Nebraska. Maybe that would have been a great idea because that's like a purpose-built facility and they have done it before. They've done it with Ebola, they've done it with COVID, and now they're going to do it with Hantavirus. So maybe it would have been better to just take them all there and let them do the quarantine in the US. Maybe that would have been a better idea. But so instead, what they're going to do is they're going to separate them all across the globe. And get this, Australia are doing nothing. America's like on full shutdown. They're like, we're sending them to Nebraska. They ain't coming out until we know they're not symptomatic. Australia's just like, come on in. If you're, who cares? If you end up showing symptoms, then we'll do something about it. Like, they don't seem that concerned. It's very strange. Jules said, hope that's where they send the Americans. Yeah, they are. They're going out to that one. I wish I had a thing for you here. Virus, Nebraska facility. Yeah, it is here. If I can get the website to load. Yeah, Nebraska Medicine UNMC asked to monitor U.S. citizens from cruise ship hantavirus outbreak. So that is where they're going. They're heading out here. And they're saying they have been asked by federal partners to receive and monitor U.S. citizens from the cruise ship associated with the hantavirus outbreak. These individuals will be monitored in the National Quarantine Unit located on campus at the Nebraska Medical Center and UNMC. And they're saying Nebraska Medicine and UNMC are working closely with the Douglas County Health Department and Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and federal partners to coordinate the effort. The National Quarantine Unit is the only federally funded quarantine unit in the United States, designed specifically to safely house and monitor people who may have been exposed to high consequence infectious diseases. They say we are prepared for situations exactly like this. Our teams have trained for decades alongside federal and state partners to make sure we can safely provide care while protecting our staff and the broader community. We are proud to support this national effort. So yeah, they will be brought there. Apparently they have rooms that look like a hotel room, and they'll have internet and cable TV, and they will hang out there for a couple of weeks until they can clear them, until their blood tests show back that they're good, and then they'll be allowed to go home. So they've got a very long couple of weeks ahead of them. So the people heading home, I mean, you got to think about these people. They've had a really awful last few weeks being trapped on a tin can in the ocean while people around them are getting infected and then dying. And now they're being told, hey, yeah, you can go home, but you're not going to your home. You're going to Nebraska, and you're going to be put into like an isolation suite, and you're going to have to stay there for a couple of weeks. I feel sorry for them. It's probably very stressful for the people that are coming back. It's one of those pretty states that no one talks about. Nebraska is amazing. Don't knock Nebraska. They are awesome. One of my favorite states in America is Nebraska. Gayla said it can take up to 10 weeks for symptoms, so they are staying that long. They're going to be there a while, which is not fun for them. Kelly said it's better than on a boat, but yeah, it would suck. Yeah, I feel sorry for them. They got a really hard time ahead of them. All right, let's wind up for the night. It's been a long night. We've talked about everything and anything tonight. It's been a long show. A really long show. I don't know how long we've been on, 3.5 hours or something. It's been a good one. I hope you liked the long show on a Friday night. I will be back tomorrow. Where everyone else is tonight, off partying apparently. I don't know. Maybe they're off getting their Hantavirus injections. Maybe that's where they are. I don't know. So I hope you had fun tonight. Hope it was a good one. Hey, Ben. Good to see you. Ben says, hello, nice to meet you. I found you by looking at my recommended videos. Thank you for letting me know. I had no idea that I was ending up on people's recommended videos. So, hey, my name is Ping. I am from Melbourne, Australia, and we do mostly true crime, but we also do breaking events and stuff like that. Sometimes things like the Hantavirus and other types of and breaking news and things like that. Hey, glad to have you. Hit that like button and the subscribe button if you can. I would appreciate it. I would appreciate everyone doing that if you haven't done that for me. He is our leader. Take us to your leader. All right. Hey, I love you all so much. We have so many great people that hang out on this channel, no matter the time, all the day, all the place, all the bat phone. Yeah, that works. RX Girl, thank you for your super chat tonight. I appreciate it, guys. If you could support the channel, I would appreciate it. If you do it in your own way, which is by hitting the subscribe button, but also the thumbs up button, that is a big help to Ping. If you want to go further and you want to help the channel, there are links underneath the video or in the chat. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have some more fun. We'll have another long show tomorrow night. You guys are troopers. To make it through 3.5 hours is amazing. You guys have done really well. I love you all. It is my pleasure to do these shows for you each day. Every day we're on here. And I'll be back tomorrow night with your updates. Maybe we'll have an update about the Hantavirus. Maybe we'll find out if they've made it back to America yet. I will see you then. Good night, everyone. Bye.